Hello and welcome, gamers, as we are here to bring you Natter X Community Beta Clash. I am so excited to be here alongside Kenobi to continue on this day 3 as we enter into the winners finals. And my friend, it's been some time since last we've been alongside, but it gets even better because it's Overwatch 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time that you and I, Rich, get to dip our toes into the proverbial waters of Overwatch 2 beta. I cannot wait. I mean, I've been playing the beta, feels like almost nonstop since it's come out. I know that, like, I've been enjoying Orisa a lot, the rework that she's been going through. Sojourn has been someone that, while I can't aim personally, I do have a lot of fun playing, especially that one custom mode that was in the game. But this tournament, I mean, so far has shown us a lot about what the Tier 2 scene can bring to the table when it comes to Overwatch 2. And to start us off, I mean, between these matchups that we have between Team Burrito and Team WISP, I mean, what a winners finals that we do have coming out right the gate. Perfect for me and you to start our Overwatch 2 journey together.
Absolutely, and with it being this winners final, we do have it going first to 3 this time, whereas we've seen the last couple of days only being a first to 2, so we get a little bit more of that extended competitive play between these two. And again, these are two names that we in this scene know so very well. And again, we do say, of course, that it is, not Odyssey, but there is a lot of names for this, Team Burrito that we are going to be calling them moving forward. But there are so many players in this that we see from that roster, among basically many others as well.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Luke Mino on Twitter was like, "Yo, Dynasty, can you let us use the Odyssey name?" And I think it was left on red a little bit right there. So it is still Team Burrito for the time being. But I mean, if you've been a fan of Tier 2, you've been a fan of Collegiate, you know a lot of these players already. Iced is the DPS sub, along with Luke Mino. Collegiate Overwatch champions, they're coming in from this previous season. Dove and Tree, a fantastic DPS duo that we've seen throughout this tournament so far. Tree, an absolute nutter on that DPS role. And then, I mean, what more can you ask for with the last three? Rhino, Rack Attack, and Luke Mino. So fantastic in terms of the coordination that they have. But we can't discount WISP on the other side. A lot of other well-known names in that Tier 2. You've got King, Malthil, Crawley, CJ, Vega, Thunda. Just a lot of players that if you've been around the block in Tier 2, you know how good these guys are. And that's why we are here in that winners finals with two teams that are extremely potent.
And before we even dive further into the discussion about these individuals, which we've seen so heavily in this tier 2, we also do want to let you know that we have continued to climb the prize pool for these individuals that they're fighting for. Over a $3,000 prize pool presently, which we have to give major shout outs as well to Vite Ramen, who is also having 100% of the proceeds that you would like to donate going towards that prize pool. And if you'd like to continue scaling that prize pool, you can use that command !crowdfunding in the chat for the link to be provided so that you can continue growing and ballooning this prize pool to that 5,000 plus more dollars that we were looking to really reach and have an opportunity to do so. And if you'd like to even have some amazing bundle packs as well for you to get not only an opportunity to donate for this prize pool, but also get some food in return for yourself. Why not? I mean, you and I talk about food very frequently, and it's always a matter of time before we get to it. At this point, because we're being, sponsored by Vite Ramen, it's a great time to do so.
And I mean, we're casting a team called Team Burrito, so it all just
comes
full circle with us. So yeah, I mean, go ahead, get yourself some noodles, get some or donate. Just you can just go and donate as much money as you want, or you can buy those bundles. Either way, all of it goes towards the prize pool. So thank you very much to Vite Ramen for helping us. But I mean, Rich, going into Overwatch 2, we're in the beta here talking about both of these teams. They've had a pretty decent road getting here. I believe WISP has not dropped a singular map yet. I'm not sure what the Redbird esports score was yesterday, but that could be a bit wrong there. But they've all had pretty easy ways to get to this part of the tournament in the winners finals, and now they're here, two of the best teams that we have in this tournament. And I think getting that winners final advantage going into that grand final is definitely something both these teams are looking out for.
Absolutely. And, even when we were just, highlighting a lot of these individuals going into this, WISP, one of the ones I'm really kind of focusing on specifically of the two, because their roster more so is actually essentially the whole team from WISP. They've had such a more cohesive, I think, synergy amongst one another, whereas we've seen some players coming from a variety of different places. You and I ourselves had the chance even recently when it came to Collegiate Overwatch. We were looking at those two specific Maryville students that were a part of it.
Yeah, and I think as well with Team Burrito, like when they have, this is the Odyssey core. You have, Luke Mino and Rakitek, who with this team, what they've liked to play, at least when I saw the VODs yesterday, was they like to play a lot of kind of similar style to that Dallas Fuel dive that we saw last year in Overwatch League in Stage 1, where it's like the Lucio and the Moira with the Winston, bringing in a Reaper alongside with that. And something that's been interesting is between Dove and between Tree, they've kind of been switching off, who's playing the Reaper. When Tracer's available, Dove seems to be playing the Tracer, but Tree's Echo
Mhm.
looks phenomenal. And that's actually
Yes.
interesting to me because I didn't think Echo would have as much prevalence as they've had in the meta when Overwatch 2 was coming out, when it was announced. But Echo seems even an owl to be a pick that a lot of teams are bringing to the table because you have that burst potential. Focusing beam on tanks still really good when you can burst them down, even on squishies as well, just getting that
Mhm.
insta kill. So don't really need the mercy pocket along with it. You can just have the nano boosts as well from Ana, who is also very, very good in this meta. But again, we'll see a bit of differentiation, I think, in styles here because Team Burrito likes to play that kind of rush
Yeah.
dive style, the Dallas Fuel zombie comp, I think it was called. So we'll have to see what both of these teams go for because we do have a little bit more footage, I would say, in this tournament from Team Burrito than we do on WISP.
Agreed. And to build on, your Echo discussion even further, it has been rising a little bit more to relevancy in that tier 1 scene for Owl. And the other part of it too is you touched on the fact of the damage that it does to the tank. And because of Overwatch 2 only having that singular tank, when you can get that extra damage onto that vital role that you only have the single individual for, it can be so substantial. The advantage that you can take in these engagements and just losing that initial person, whether it be the tank or even a DPS or support line, it is drastically more significant when you lose that first individual in these fights versus the previous 6 versus 6 in Overwatch 1. And utilizing that valuable adaptation with the Echo into this, which we've typically seen more of the Genji, we've seen the 76, we haven't really seen any Sojourn, even though you and I have commented about it, seen a little bit in this tournament over the weekend. Sojourn has kind of risen a little bit in some usage, but hasn't really gained as much full value. And I think going into today, we're going to see a little bit more of that leaning into this tier 1 type of not yet solely solidified meta, but what we would look to start seeing as the known meta.
Yeah, Soldier's still prevalent, which is, something that I think that a lot of teams are just used to, going into the beta and when it was starting. Like, I think
Mhm.
this Soldier was very, very strong. I mean, you see him basically in every Owl game,
Yeah.
mostly. So, Sojourn did get some buffs recently, but it hasn't seemed like it's been enough to bring her back fully into the meta.
Mhm.
People are still playing at Soldier 76, have the comfort on that hero that they've had for a while. And I think as well, when you talk about Echo, and the interesting thing about that is that it's also a nightmare to be a support playing against an Echo, right? You literally just get sticky bombed once and you die, especially against Zombie, where it's like there's a Reaper teleporting onto you,
Mhm.
Winston's diving onto you. Oh, and not only that, you've got Lucio and Moira speeding into you.
Yep.
You don't get to play the game of Overwatch because there isn't like something in 6v6 like a Diva where it was just like, oh, I can maybe eat some of the incoming damage,
Mhm.
from the Reaper, stall out one of those. No, it's very hard to be a support or a squishy in a meta like this where you can just get run over, especially with the composition that Team Burrito is doing. So I wonder how WISP is going to be able to play against that as we go into our first couple of maps.
And that Lucio utility does put such an aggressive tempo to it that you've already, let's say, gotten in and of itself when it comes to the DPS just flat passive gain. I mean, that's why we see 76 being such a massive gain for a lot of these teams because, again, he was already able to sprint faster, but then to get that extra mobility, anyways, in a DPS role and to combine that, their mobility in these positions, maintaining a high ground, looking for a flanking opportunity, escaping an unfavorable engagement. There's so much that 76 brings, which is why we've seen it. And, outside of utilizing that, I would like to see more of this Echo. I think it is something that is very, very exciting to watch it. It also does require a little bit more of, I think, that skill variance to be able to get its maximum potential.
I mean, you're in luck because we're going to watch Tree play.
This is
Tree's probably going to
right.
play Echo. I mean, if you want to see Echo play, this is the matchup for it, and this is the team for it. Because Tree, I mean, yesterday even when I was watching back some of the VODs, Tree is just absolutely fragging on this hero. It is unreal how much value that they're able to get off of it, just with the assassinations, the focusing power with the rest of the team. I think Team Burrito is a extremely well-oiled machine, and definitely I would say potentially the favorites going into this, but that doesn't mean Wisps are any slouches in their own right. This is probably like a 55-45 type of deal where I
Yeah.
think Wisp can definitely bring some things to the table, but Team Burrito has looked phenomenal and definitely deserve a lot of credit for the way that they've gotten here and the way that they've been playing.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, we can also just highlight these individuals and their skill level. But since we have a brief moment before going into that game, we are going to look to quickly just talk about the maps that are here. We've got Lijiang Tower first coming up, Control. We've been typically seeing Push start actually as our first map for Overwatch League, but here we're going to start with that Control map and going into Lijiang Tower first before entering into that Push Escort hybrid rotation to see who's going to be able to take this first to 3.
It's also so weird seeing Lijiang Tower not in the nighttime.
Right? I mean,
That
when you
always
say
feels
night
weird.
market, that's it. Come on. Like, dawn market? Morning
Well,
market?
that actually doesn't sound
I mean,
bad. I
it
don't
does.
hate Dawn Market, actually.
I mean, right? I was trying to think of one that's not as bad. It's still viable, so we'll take it.
But I mean, one of the things we do have to talk about as well is that push mode that we have. Second,
Yeah.
that's going to be a map, a mode that we haven't seen ourselves as casters, but we have watched other people play it, and kind of, it's very different to how 2CP worked, and it's kind of its own thing in terms of the Overwatch spectrum, right? And like how you play it varies completely differently to a lot of the other maps. But here we go, starting off here on Lijiang Tower, Team Burrito. I mean, I usually don't talk about teams before they come out of spawn, but with Team Burrito, I'm pretty confident that this is what they're going to be running because they've been running it almost the entire tournament so far. But WISP potentially bringing out some changes of their own, looking like the Doomfist. I mean, definitely on a map like this where you have a lot of these enclosed areas, you can get a lot of value with the seismic slam, with the punches, a lot of displacement as well is a possibility because the door's going to be opening here, and King actually going to be going over to that Reaper instead, so bring a little bit more of that tank busting in their back pocket.
And as they rush towards this initial control position, trying to see if they can maneuver towards that server, but is a little bit of a backline flank here. Wisp with the Tracer play coming out from Rocket, attempting to get that high ground presence onto Tree, but it is a little challenging to get that throughput of damage as they start to maneuver back to this point.
With Rocket going down, that's a lot of damage lost as well for Wisp, and this means Team Burrito can just rotate themselves onto that point, take it, and start taking up that percentage. Losing, like, Rocket that early, really a detriment, as actually Team Burrito is very deep. Tree maybe going a little bit too close to the sun there, and this might be an advantage for Wisp.
Yeah, lit on fire. There was a solar flare to set you ablaze. Is it still percentage game for Team Burrito now? But their pickup onto Dove will ensure that this should be Wisp able to just clean this up. Still some point presence, at least to get that generated percentage to continue to climb in their favor, but stop at that 16.
Yeah, I think a little bit too over-aggressive from Team Burrito there. They played extremely aggressive, and this is kind of what you do with a team like this, where you know that they have that swagger to them, that ability to push the advantage. Luke Mino's coming back in, though, with a Coalescence in their back pocket, can use it as an engage tool. They just have to be worried about that nano and potentially getting something done, but that's a nice anti-nade already to start things off.
Yeah, big presence onto Luke Mino, preventing them from playing as forward, but they got the Coalescence available into this. They also do have that aggression once again with that nano boost coming out onto Crowley for the Doomfist, really keeping a structured foundation in this front line, but Rocket eliminated makes it a little bit more challenging. Coalescence finally dissipates from Luke Mino. They're slept in the back and now attempting to collapse onto the back line, but goes a little bit too far forward, and Tree takes the advantage.
What a fade from Luke Mino to dodge out of the way of that punch, and this should be Team Burrito taking it back. Wisp is doing a fairly good job, I would say, of playing this kind of counter dive style where they're not letting Rhino just go into their backline. Crowley's doing a really good job of stopping them, but here goes again the aggression from Team Burrito.
Sound barrier, making sure they've got fortification from Wisp to sustain the damage, but Tree's already eliminated one, which is extremely valuable. The Meteor Strike in the flanking position doesn't get much. It actually has to abandon ship as they are being overrun by Team Burrito.
Oh, and that was with a sound barrier as well from Wisp, and now Team Burrito are just going to be totally fine holding this position. Look at all the ultimates that they're going to be having in this next fight. A 5-pack of ultimates, can't say 6-pack anymore, and as we remember in Overwatch 1, Rich, 5 ultimates usually means you won.
Yep. Numbers advantage in the ult economy can be quite substantial unless they're able to mitigate it. You do have Rhino covered by the sound barrier for the time being as Rack Attack gets taken down by the Death Blossom. Flanking position is so overwhelming. The duplicate as well. That's 4 Hellfire shotguns being unleashed onto Team Burrito, but they're not going to be able to do too much as there are some great environmental picks as well. Team Burrito's just clutching this out.
Yeah, that was a bit of a wallet diff there from Team Burrito, using everything just to hold the line and taking up 75% here for Team Burrito. Wisp have to come back, have a nano available to them, will most likely as well have that sound boost. So support ultimates and sustain gonna be online for them, and Team Burrito don't really have anything to counter it.
Not for the moment with this final fight engagement. You do have the Doomfist going in to hopefully proc the overtime, but they're being overrun. Tree gets the takedown onto CJ, but the nano does still come through. Vega, with this sound barrier, needs to utilize it, but two are already eliminated. Wisp is just falling to pieces right now, with Team Burrito still dominating on this front side. The boot back almost prevents them from getting the contention, but they're still here to try their darndest to sustain. But at this point, the numbers are continuing to fall. Team Burrito is in a prime position and is feeling quite spicy on this first round.
Yeah, and I'm really loving the aggression that we're seeing from Team Burrito. Even in that last fight, the decision that they know that they're at somewhat of an ultimate disadvantage, so they say, okay, we're going to be the ones to go first. They take out CJ very early. Even though the nano goes out, you don't have that Ana for the healing that you want in an extended fight like that. And in any extended fight, Team Burrito, with their composition, will win out because their sustainability is absolutely insane. As we go over to a different map here of Gardens, again, seeing it in the daytime, very weird and very strange to me, but Team Burrito, I mean, I really, again, don't expect them to change much. If it ain't broke for them, don't fix it. It's been working throughout the entirety of the tournament. WISP, it's really on their, focus now to see if they can change something about their composition. And I think they did a pretty decent job with trying to counter the, dive, playing the Doomfist, playing the Reaper, try and make Rhino's life a little bit miserable. But there's just so much that Team Burrito has that WISP couldn't deal with all of it. The mental ramp was too much.
Yeah, and it was just a little bit of lack in coordination. Not to say that it was tremendously bad, it just felt like there were just some weak points that weren't able to fully be capitalized on their entry for these engagements. As now Team Burrito tries to play towards this building position before transitioning onto the point. Only one, Dove, sticking close, mitigating Crowley, who's on this Diva. With that defense matrix, it'll soak a lot of that incoming damage, but Team Burrito still in the driver's seat right here and actually going to dive onto the bridgeway and force back Wisp.
Oh, but you see, Team Burrito are going to be able to cap here most likely. It looks like it now. It's just for them to play for. Dove goes down, and that's a big pick.
Yeah, King gets an early lead onto Dove, which is fantastic. You remove that Reaper play that's consistently shelling damage onto Crowley up front or potentially harassing the supports. CJ gets super low, and King comes in with a triple kill. And that's going to be a lovely turnaround here for Wisp to now transition this into their favor.
I mean, King there says anything you can do, I can do better for Tree. I mean, Tree on that shirt, not the Echo that we're seeing right now, and King is getting a ton of value right now. Dove is actually switching back over to the Soldier 76 to try and put some pressure onto King so he's not just free firing from that air. Coming into this next fight, Rocket gonna have that pulse bomb available to them, so can definitely get a stick into that backline and break this fight open before it really starts.
Moving through White Room, Team Burrito attempting to get a full stack of 5 to contest against this. Crowley playing cautiously. The defense matrix is being expended very quickly for the time being, maneuvering around the pole, but this aggression is going to overrun. Crowley has to dive back, can't stick close onto the main ground with Tree getting chipped away by Rocket on the side. The mech is eliminated, and now Dove continuing to utilize this 76 to its full value, as we've seen even in Tier 1 with the pulse bomb to couple with it as well.
Without Vega here, it's going to be very difficult. Transcendence is available for CJ, and they actually profit to match the Coalescence, but this fight is so scrappy. King gets Rack Attack.
Yeah, King, if they can continue to do this with the sticky bombs and focusing beam, it's actually going to allow Wisp to maintain this, and they are able to persevere through it despite the amount of effort that Team Burrito was able to toss onto this position.
I mean, King is absolutely popping off right now on this Echo, doing so much work, and actually Primal is committed here. Team Burrito think that they can win the sound barrier as well.
Very aggressive at 60%. I feel they could have held off just a little bit to go for a final fight territory, and now they've got to bail out of it over the bridgeway. They've lost the Primal Rage. They solely have to rely on this sound barrier.
Yeah, sound barrier is going to be pretty big here for Team Burrito. 75% and ticking almost for Wisp once we get to this fight, and here comes the dive.
Discord Orb instantly onto Rhino, but beautiful timing by Team Burrito to get that sound barrier up front to not allow Rhino to be eliminated. But as I say that, Crowley still gets it. The Zenyatta Discord Orb coming out of nowhere, making sure that it gets its maximum value with an 87% and climbing. They're in final fight moments.
Definitely in final fight. Self-destruct is available for Crowley, but that's all that Wisp have to work with. There is a Tac Visor available from Dumb, but Diva always loved to be playing against Tac Visors. Tree has to make something happen with this Pulse Bomb if Team Burrito want a chance.
Contention onto the point. Tree is there with the pulse bomb almost online. Tactical visor from the outskirts just around the corner is going to get flamed.
Oh my God!
And CJ obliterate Dove. There's no way you're getting any focus fire onto Team Burrito. This will be a 1-to-1 round score with a cleanup from Wisp and allowing us to have quite an intense first map.
Yeah, Tree's going to try and touch here and make something happen with this pulse bomb, but it's all off the back of them. Gets the stick onto the Brigitte, but is that going to be enough? I don't think so, Rich. That's going to be the map. It was a nice attempt from Tree, some flashy plays, but again, Wisp I mean, the adaptation extremely good on that second map, or
100%.
second sub map, I would say. I mean, on the first map, they were trying to play more of the Doomfist, bring in sort of that anti-dive style, but here on the second map, bringing that Diva, I think works so well, able to blanket out those supports, keep them safe, and Crawley also played on the knife's edge a lot of the times, knew their limits of that hero, and were doing such a phenomenal job of staying alive, because one of the things Diva struggles with is that survivability, especially when you only have Brigitte and Zen healing. It's not a lot.
No, it's not. And as we enter now onto Dawn Market. I had to take a minute to even think about it.
I agree.
I'm gonna rename it. That's what's happening. I'll send it. I'll hashtag Overwatch League and make them listen to me, as we're gonna enter in onto this to see who's gonna be able to take this third round.
Team Burrito coming out again on the same competition. Dove is going to be on that Soldier 76, so off the bat has a little bit more pressure for King in the air, because King was really the focus point of WISP in that last round. So you can see Team Burrito just going to walk it all the way to point. They know they have a bit more staying power when they fight in these enclosed areas.
And you can see with the adoption of the 76, gonna get some initial value holding this defensive position through these archways, but has to be super cautious. Those sticky bombs will get quite a bit of value, especially with this flank, but huge damage onto King. Oh my goodness, I'd say that's 1 HP. If we had a cam on that HP bar, it would be true, as you will get Team Burrito managing to take this first, but still keeping WISP at bay.
Yeah, and you can already see King is not having the same amount of value. He is pressured. He has to respect Dove, specifically on the Soldier 76, who, again, is just putting out that pressure. Look at these shots. Not only just pressuring out King, pressuring out Rocket as well.
Both are being punished every time they show their face, and now with Crowley on the position, that's going to draw attention away from it, hoping that Rocket and King can get some value either onto Dove or to Tree, because the Discord Orb is instantly tossed onto the 76, weaving around this back position, has the self-healing necessary to continue. Well, Rocket says finally, I'm going to eliminate you. Even threw in the pulse bomb a little bit late because they wanted to ensure that they could get the takedown. As the swap comes through, WISP able to get some percentage gain, but Team Burrito really just holding on at the moment. It's actually a back and forth scrappy fight that WISP still perseveres through.
Yeah, and really good for WISP that they were able to flip that during the fight, because now they can take up their own percentage and will eventually be able to pass Team Burrito here in this next couple of seconds. Team Burrito, though, coming back in. Coalescence is very close for them, but WISP have the advantage. Oh my god, goodbye, King.
Dove almost got blown to bits, but got recovered, and an instant retaliation afterwards. Dove says, I might have had my heart skip a beat, but after I've recovered and the palpitation fades, me and Tree are going to come in, and you highlighted it. Tree is nutty.
Yeah, I mean, Tree's just like, you know what? I've had enough of this, King. You've been doing a good job so far on that Echo, but now it's my turn to pop off, and Tree right there breaks open the fight completely. And that was with no ultimates, Rich. They didn't use a single ultimate for that fight. They're able to take it back, and now it's going to be a wallet fight in this next one. We're going to see so many particle effects from both of these teams, unless, again, it's Tree who just bursts down the fight before it even starts.
See rounding the outside, ultimate stacking up almost all 5 here for WISP, with Rocket nearing the pulse bomb along with King about to have the duplicate, but still Tree on that outskirts position, attempting to get some damage onto Rocket to force them back. Vega leads with the rally, extra armor with a self-destruct, and even the duplicate onto the Winston play to try and harass Tree back into the outskirts, and will be able to still sustain through it. Ultimates are going to come through. Pulse bomb gets the denial on Dove. The tack visor has been completely removed from the equation, and with the Transcendence buying some time from CJ onto WISP, they should have the numbers advantage here to be able to take this away once again from Team Burrito.
I mean, fantastic stick coming out there from Rocket, taking away the ability for Dove to just sit in that backline with the tack visor, continuously put pressure, takes that ultimate 1-for-1 there, and WISP now coming back in, did use a lot in that fight. Tree does have a little bit of advantage with Team Burrito, having that duplicate in their back pocket and having a little bit more sustainability in this next fight, because WISP really don't have anything else to work with.
No, it's just going to be sheer force of will at this point, and an early pickup that they need to get something with CJ's Discord. Whoa! Pick, as I say that,
CJ!
Get it, and CJ comes out with some serious Zenyatta mojo. Unfortunately goes down on the front side by Luke Mino, but the damage is already done, and WISP still has this.
Ooh, CJ's a bit of a player, right? That was some nice Zenyatta plays. This Zenyatta buff, I mean, I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see Zenyatta back in the meta because of that buff with the kick. It's so fun to play that hero. Team Burrito, they're coming back in last fight territory. Here comes the dive.
And with the pulse bomb ready to launch, doesn't stick onto Luke Mino and will go down by Tree. Team Burrito has an instant advantage as it's a 5 versus 3 to swap it back over, and WISP just has to abandon ship.
Yeah, this is going to be last fight territory here for both of these teams, and you have to be looking out for what these ultimates can do. Coalescence is available for Luke Mino here. Rhino should be able to get that Primal Rage. Lot of sustainability here for Team Burrito, but WISP can make something happen. If they can get to these support ultimates, they have the sustain to match it. They just have to be worried about Tree's duplicate.
And Rocket on the outskirts, making sure that they can proc the overtime, or Crowy, either or. Both are going to actually transition. It's a little bit of a divide and conquer moment right now. Into this, they're swapping it back.
Wait,
They've
the point,
taken it away. They have to get on
it.
Oh my goodness! The lulz in the chat. The lulz are real, friends. That is the most swift D9 takeback I've ever seen. Holy Christmas. WISP comes in with a flanking position by both the Tracer and the Diva that come out of nowhere. Crowley led the charge and bamboozled Team Burrito. It doesn't matter the play of the game here. That moment is the most significant one.
I can't believe that that's the first thing we're going to see at the end of an Overwatch 2 map for us, Rich. I mean, that was the C9iest of nines. Like that, I mean, they would have... Team Burrito was winning that fight, by the way. There was no question in my mind. They like had the idea of like, we're going to use Coalescence to force out the Echo. Maybe Tree can go get the kill. And all the meanwhile, Rocket and Crowley are just sitting on point like, okay, we have point control. Oh, it's 98%, 99%.
Are they going to come back and get us?
Whoops.
Are they going to come back and get us? They're not here. We're not here.
They're just checking
That's
their watches
fine.
like, what time is it? Oh, it's time for us to win the map, I guess.
Enter, LOL, enter.
That was incredible. But again, the whole mapping was very close between both of these teams. Yes. I mean, that's not the way I would have expected it to end, but I'm kind of glad it did because that was hilarious.
We can say that this is our first Overwatch 2 competitive casted match, and that's how it ends. I'm okay with that, gamer.
Yeah, I'll remember that one for a while. But I mean, these two teams, again, relatively close. Again, the adaptation I really liked from what I saw from WISP. They're moving over towards the Diva. Crawley playing it extremely well. I think the Brig Zen was also really good. CJ also had some moments on
nutty
that map,
moments,
I think, especially with how Zen needs to be in a composition like that. I think still where you do need to have somewhat of that pop-up potential. CJ definitely brought that in spades. Someone that, you know, we're a little bit familiar with going from that not Bellevue Lords Esports roster that we saw in Collegiate, but Team Burrito probably kicking themselves a little bit because that was a map win in their back pocket, but instead it's WISP who give us that 1-0 lead.
Yep. And with that 1-0 lead, it's going to, give a little bit of shakiness to Team Burrito because of how close this is. You want to hopefully see Team Burrito manage to just shake off a little bit of those unfortunate pitfalls that we could call that on Dawn Market, as I'm going to continue trying to make that a staple word here going forward with Overwatch. I'm going to coin that right now. I'll put it all over Twitter. But, as we continue to go forward into this, now we enter in onto the map of Push. And this is one that I just cannot wait to see because we've seen so many different variations when it comes to compositions in certain areas of the map, when it's, how are you going to play these engagements? Because if you can start gaining a substantial lead, it is absolutely almost impossible in some cases to be able to recover if you're able to push it so far, because you have to think of the consecutive win. You have to take the fight to stop it. You have to take the next fight to get it in return. And then you have to take the following fight to actually gain push progression.
Yeah, it's very swingy, it feels like, where it's like if you get like, if you get like 100 meters and there's no pushback on the other side, it feels like the map is just like almost impossible to win. You have to play it nigh perfectly throughout the entirety of the map, and it's still very difficult. I mean, even if you do that, you have to win, like you mentioned, 1, 2, 3 fights to even get back to, level in some of those cases. So as we go to our second map, which is going to be Colosseo as our second map, that's, I think, good for WISP specifically, because WISP seems like they do. I mean, Crowley did play the Diva, and this is a map in Colosseo where I think you can play Zarya. That is an option here on a map like this. So maybe Crowley does bring that out, very gifted in terms of being that off-tank player. So this is something that I think you're happy about if you're WISP. But I mean, it was the map pick of Team Burrito. So you are a little bit worried, I think, at the same time, because you're like, what do they have planned for this?
Yeah, and they could really bring out something unique to this if they feel confident going on to this map specifically. And as we enter into it, it's only going to be a matter of time. But with what you've already presented to us from what we've seen historically from WISP, that's reasonable that this is still going to be a map that is strong for them to attempt to compete against as we enter in onto this map to see who is going to be able to get that initial fight. Because you even mentioned it too when you and I were in discussion about how these initial fights can be so long-winded because of just this really methodical well play to try and get that early advantage because it's so substantial if you get that first fight win.
And I think, you know, when we look at this map and look at these two teams, Team Burrito has kind of like set themselves up as this team who plays this composition, like this, I'll call it the Dallas dive is kind of the way that I usually talk about this. And we've seen some adaptation from WISP and Team Burrito. The real only adaptations we've seen from them have mostly been in the DPS department, right? Dove, Tree kind of flexing around their different heroes. But WISP, as they come out here on push, looks like they're going to be sticking with that Diva again. I really loved what I saw from Krawi, being able to negate some of the incoming damage from Tree, from Dove specifically with that defense matrix. And here what we'll see most likely is just a bit of back and forth between both these teams before, you know, the fight actually truly breaks out. You've got to be waiting for those cooldowns, especially if you're Team Burrito. You want to have all your cooldowns in line to get that burst damage and take out someone.
Rocket a little bit more so forward, looking for the flanking position onto Luke Mino. Can't quite get the full clip onto them as there is some great recovery from Team Burrito despite this peppering of damage from Wisp on the backside. And because they get that forward positioning, it's early advantage for Team Burrito, but then Wisp turns it around completely despite them only giving these first few meters of the push bot.
And I mean, it's good. It's, again, just really, really good peel coming out from Wisp. Like, Vega goes down extremely early, but look at how much Team Burrito had to commit to that. They have to commit basically all of their cooldowns just to take out the Brig, and then you're kind of just stuck there. And Wisp were totally fine with saying, like, okay, we're going to continue to pepper you from afar. We're going to eventually take you out. And I mean, here it's going to be Wisp moving this bot forward a little bit, and now the onus is again on Team Burrito to try and make something happen, get one of those dives. But look how far back Wisp are playing. I love this, just understanding that we have an advantage. It's really on Team Burrito now to make something happen, and we're totally fine just poking from afar.
100%. They're so proactive in reading this positioning, especially in this narrow archway where there's those side corridors to the left and right-hand side, wanting to utilize those to your advantage. Rhino getting chipped away with that Discord Orb, having to play so cautiously, making sure that they're getting topped up by Luke Mino and Rack Attack to secure this re-entry. But they're having such a challenging time because Krawi up front mitigating it with the defense matrix, looking to get those micro rockets, abandoned ship but can't do it fast enough as they lose the mech. Tree collapsing onto it. Rhino as well gets the valuable pick as there's a return takedown. Rocket and King stepping up and saying our tank might be down, but we're not out yet.
Oh my god, I mean, Wisp is doing such a phenomenal job of winning fights from behind, it feels like. Crowley goes down extremely early there, and Team Burrito get a couple of kills, but Team Wisp, off the back of some fantastic play from Rocket with the 2K, are able to win a fight that looked like it was almost unwinnable for them, and now they're going to take this card progression, start moving forward, and this is where I think Team Burrito are going to have to commit some of their ultimates to try and win this back, because if you continue to play this slow style that they are and just waiting for these cooldowns, you're going to just continuously get poked out.
And King's in a great position. Well, as they say, that Tree gets the elimination. They were utilizing the architecture for the time being, but Tree finds that window of opportunity to eliminate them out of this, and now Team Burrito has to take full advantage of this. They are throttling and blitzing the back line of Wisp to get this advantage, but there is still a lot of damage onto Rhino, who needs to be very cautious, does get out and a pickup, while Crowley's eliminated once again.
Oh, and I mean, look at Rocket. I mean, Rocket just trying to stall as much as they can. And this is one of the, you know, scary things about Push, where it's like you win a fight, yes, but now you have to win another one. And the lucky thing for Team Burrito, though, is that they haven't used a lot of their ultimates. They have 4 in their back pocket, so does Wisp. So this is going to be a huge particle effect fight here. A lot of disruption that could come in from Rhino getting into that backline. CJ and Vega have to play extremely carefully here in this backline with all these ultimates on the other side.
And you can see that yellow line of where it needs to be contested before it goes any further. Big pulse comes out onto Luke Mino. That is going to put a nail in a coffin right now, should be for this fight. They don't have to overcommit anything. They can play so strategically here to not have to force back Team Burrito because they're already having to draw back from this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a single pulse bomb, and now they're going to rally and play aggressive here, and they're forcing ultimates out of Team Burrito.
Oh my goodness, 3 in total. It's only Tree that's held on and retained theirs thus far. Dove at least manages to get one onto CJ, so they've eliminated the support, but Rocket and Crowley come in swiftly to take out the DPS line of Team Burrito and send a packet.
Wisp are playing so smart, man. Like, the aggression that they're having now and their ability to understand, like, we can kind of checkmate you a little bit, Team Burrito. They force out Primal, and they force out the Tac Visor alongside the Sound Barrier, and Wisp are just like, we're just playing the numbers game right now. We're just pushing this robot. You're going to have to win so many fights against us, and we're totally fine taking your ultimates out for a fight win.
And you can see Dove far in the back on that bridgeway, not risking playing any closer, keeping that long-range distance. Crowley, though, getting focused, instantly down, doesn't have the opportunity to get that valuable follow-through because they're taken down during the self-destruct. Tree duplicates the Tracer, looks for the harass in the back. Rocket can't land that time around, as it will be an opportunity now for Wisp that has to go back and regroup, and Team Burrito to push this.
And you can see a little bit on the top where you see the meters. It is still Wisp that's in the lead. 3.5 minutes left. Team Burrito coming into this fight do have that Coalescence in their back pocket, but against the Transcendence, I don't know if that's going to be enough. They're going to need that damage really onto that back line, because now we're so close. I think this is going to be Wisp recontesting here. They don't want it to reach that yellow line.
Yep, Crowley, look at him bobbing and weaving in and out of engagement to keep it contested on the stairway to make sure that they cannot allow it to push any further because they're in these dire minutes. Oh, but Tree around the outside can't get away. Focusing Beam clips the wings and is dropped to the floor. And now with this side angle from Dub, looking to pop somebody, can't manage to do so, with CJ having the Transcendence to secure it, and this will be now Wisp once again taking advantage.
There is a recontest angle here for Team Burrito, though. Primal is so close for Rhino, and Rack Attack is very close towards that sound barrier. There could be a moment where Wisp is caught off guard a little bit by this engagement from Team Burrito.
Yeah, looking for a flank. Wisp, oh my goodness, King has to evade and just go high into the sky, but gets booped by Rack Attack, and a Primal Rage comes out from Rhino, causing disruption and mayhem. Chaotic damage onto the supports, with forcing the rally, mind you. If they can clean this up, they have a great opportunity to get this, to finally push past that 37 marker.
I mean, the thing is, though, is that the cart is so, or the bot rather, is so far on the other side that it has to move all the way to where it is for Team Burrito at their check mark. And by that time, Wisp is going to be back here with ultimates and with an ability to recontest. Rack Attack luckily has this sound barrier in their back pocket, so that means that there is that possibility to sustain. Pulse Bomb and the duplicate from Rocket and King are going to be incredibly impactful in this next fight.
Rocket Pulse Bomb in the back, gets the pick up. It's like deja vu all over again onto Dub, but the aggression forward, utilizing the sound barrier. They're attempting to get space so they can continue having it push before they manage to actually come back to recontest it in the minute and 30. But now, with King committing this duplicate onto the Primal Winston, it's going to cause even more trauma to Team Burrito that they won't be able to recover.
And this is more time. I mean, this is perfect for Wisp right here. You're going to be able to take control of the bot. You're going to be able to move forward, and there's not a lot of time left for Team Burrito here, and this is going to be more cart progress that's in your back pocket, so that means Team Burrito has to go even further on the other side in these fights, and there's only a minute left here, Rich.
Self-destruct onto the bridgeway. They got the damage out. Crowley underneath isn't going to be punished this time around, but King sure will be, as Dub finally gets a tactical visor to outmatch that high ground position, but Rocket looks for an elimination on the backside, but can't do so. Team Burrito comes out finally once again, but with this 55 seconds to go, this is the dire stretch and the last opportunity here for Team Burrito to get this.
Yeah, this is 100% last fight, but look at how much Team Burrito had to commit to that, Rich. 3 ultimates, and Wisp are totally fine. They're going to have a Pulse Bomb in their back pocket. Siege's going to have Transcendence as well. Unless a miracle engagement comes out from Team Burrito, Wisp has such a huge advantage here, and we are in last fight.
And now Crowley once again playing towards that bot to keep it in contention before even getting to touch it. So even if they do win this fight, it still has distance to cover, but Rocket, once again, looking for that pickup on the Pulse Bomb. They've got it again. Dub with the Discord Orb gets so low, but gets forced back and finally taken down. That's what we kept our eyes on. The bated breath to see if they can eliminate the DPS line in the back. Tree with a focusing beam up front, attempting to recover the fact that they've lost Dub, who is able to sprint back. Sound barrier comes through by Rack Attack on the front line to see if they can give enough sustainability for it to back for a 5-stack. Tree gets an elimination almost into the back, but King brought to their knees. Rhino gets another one, and in the end of it all, Team Burrito have just been able to come through onto this. The focusing beam to transition the Tracer away so they can't contest. Rocket down below, getting pummeled by the damage. Can't evade for much longer, but might have been able to do so because the rally is here, Kenobi.
Oh, but Tree takes down CJ. That's a huge pick. That's a lot of healing loss, but this rally is doing so much here, Rich. It's back and forth.
Crowley now onto the Doomfist to get that mobility back onto the point and have some sheer force of will, the strength of mitigation, and also that trajectory in the back line to and knock them away. Vega with the Brig is a clutch factor, comes out on top, and miraculously turns this around. I need a cardiologist because my blood pressure's rising.
I mean, that Overwatch is a game of pixels, and the second that Vega was able to get that rally, that fight turned completely on its head. Because if that rally doesn't come out, there's no way they have the sustainability to win that fight. Perfectly played and perfectly timed from Wisp here. I mean, you could just see at the end just how much value this Brigitte is getting just with the Inspire procs. What a game from Wisp.
This is the most well-deserved POTG for a support player right now.
I agree.
That was absolutely brilliant to see that come out in the end of it. And I can guarantee you that Vega's losing their mind in that moment, just screaming their head off, saying, "Go, go, go, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it."
I mean,
Oh my
they're
goodness.
definitely like, I have rally, rally, go, 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 go,
Oh
go.
yeah.
We have rally, we can win, we
Oh
can
yeah.
win. I mean, it was very close too because CJ got obliterated by Tree right there, even in
Yeah.
that fight, like got assassinated, and still with Vega there, they were able to win that fight. And Whisper now up 2-0, making me look a little bit foolish because I was like, oh, it's 55-45 Team Burrito. Whisper coming in, and they're playing like absolute legends right now.
They
This
are.
is a team that is playing so well against what Team Burrito wants to do. I can't stress enough how good the peel has been, how good the swaps have been for Team Wisp, how well they played that push map around kind of just their knowledge that they had an advantage with just the time and the moment or in the movement of the bot. Like there are some big brains on this team of Wisp, and they're using them effectively.
Yeah, they really understood a combination of the tempo and just the methodology behind this new push map and really showed it off. And we're going to be able to go to a short break here. But before we do so, we do want to give a major shout out and thank you to one of our sponsors among many. We've got Champria.gg. If you're an analyst, a staff member, or player looking to grow your skills in Overwatch, Champria.gg is the place where your journey to esports stardom begins. The only platform with match performance analytics for teams. Champria.gg is also introducing player-specific performance analytics this month specifically. So you should head over to the platform to create your team, invite some players, start scrimming, and get that data uploaded today. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we're looking to see what this third map has in store for us after this short break.
Hello, friends. My name is Jeff here from Map 5 Podcast, back with another interview, having a chat with Muma. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, my name's Muma. I played in the Overwatch League for a minute, played some tank. Now I'm kind of just, chilling. I'm not really, I'm just streaming a lot, coaching on the side, just trying to, still enjoy the game, but not so much worry about the competitive side as much as I used to.
Well, with the beta coming out, been playing a bit of that. What do you think is your favorite part of the beta so far?
So my favorite part of the beta is just probably just playing like tanks that I haven't really got to play much recently. Like I know Monkey was definitely like playable in Overwatch 1, but he just required so much like, teamwork and synergy that didn't exist in ranked very often, and like a lot of people had to, pick specific heroes to kind of make him work. But in Overwatch 2, like with there only being one tank, I feel like you're a lot more free to, kind of play the tank that you feel like playing, because a lot of them, at least right now, a lot of them feel, pretty equal to each other, and, right. Can work with like a lot of different things. So I'm kind of just enjoying,
You just gotta keep moving forward.
Hello and welcome back, my friends. We are here to continue on for the Natter X Community Beta Clash, where we have already seen some spectacular Overwatch 2 play. A C9 that'll go down for the ages and a push map that was played to precision. As I am Rich Rad here with Kenobi and my friend. I mean, what a first couple of maps that we've had so far.
That might be one of the ones that I'll remember forever. Like that one is
Yeah.
It might be the most C9 I've ever cast. Like that.
Thank you, Wisps.
That
Thank
was
you.
definitely that was incredible. But I mean, Wisp off the back of that are giving some momentum and have that 2-0 lead. And as us casters always like to say, Rich, this is where the reverse sweep starts for Team Burrito.
Yes.
They're gonna have that ability to pick their map. We are going to escort. Don't know exactly what the map is just yet, but again, I really am impressed with Wisp and their ability to just like understand the win condition of Team Burrito, play against it super well, and even from like behind in these fights, they know like, look, they've used every cooldown to try and get into our backline. Sure, Vega might be dead, like as we saw in the start of the push map, right? Burrito uses everything to dive onto Vega, and then Wisp is just like, cool, we have all our cooldowns still. We have a Zen and we still have a Tracer. We have so much damage, and you don't have the cooldowns to deal with us, and they turn fights from nothing. Rocket has been incredibly impactful,
Yes.
I think, and
I
very good. Someone who I necessarily didn't have my eyes on, but now like my eyes are glued to that player. They are performing extremely well against some very good competition on the other side.
Yeah, if you weren't going to highlight Rocket, I was about to, because at the end of that, just being able to have that elusive gameplay to keep it even more contested outside of just the significant pull spawn value that they've been able to get more often than not, whether it's 2 players or 1 player, just Dub specifically is having a bad time going against Rocket, always having to play super cognizant of where this Tracer positioning is, and whether they're getting full clipped or not, they're just constantly being pressured where they can't start pumping out this damage that we've consistently seen 76 do, even in the upper levels of Overwatch League.
Yeah, I mean, some things may change. You know, we are lacking another tank, but what hasn't changed, as it feels like, is that Diva is nightmare fuel for Soldier 76s.
Yeah.
Like, Crawley is never letting Dove out of their sights, and it's not just Crawley. Like the rest of the team is also doing a very good job of just like taking that one down and knowing that without the Soldier 76, there's none of that sustained damage, right? You know, Echo very bursty. You have Soldier 76 kind of that sustained damage to follow up a little bit and focus down a little bit on the Echo, but once Dove's not in these fights, it's very easy for the rest of the DPS of Wisp to just like go around and play as, you know, fast and loose as they want.
Well, and not only just the fast and loose part of it, their ability to be able to recover in a critical moment that they are at a deficit is substantial. Like there have been on multiple occasions where they should not have specifically won that fight because of the early advantages that Team Burrito has been able to claim in this, that they spin it around. A couple of key moments are specifically when Crowley is being outplayed, whether they're taking too much damage. The Discord was there. They were eliminated into the back position. You have this aggression by the Winston play to make sure that they solidify that takedown. But all the while, you have the DPS line in the back just continuing to pump out damage in retaliation to completely turn it back into their favor, regardless of losing Crowley.
And I think that's something that in Overwatch 2 teams are going to have, like that'll separate like the very good teams from like the great teams, is your ability to come back from like deficits, right? So I remember Vancouver Titans like season 1 when it was the runaway core. Like they would just watch Bumper just go in and they'd win fights like 4v6, 5v6. Like it was incredible. Like, and I think that's in a game like Overwatch 2 where, you know, you are missing that other tank, you do need to find ways to kind of break or bring yourself back from deficits, and Wisp has been doing such a good job. As next map, we don't know what it is just yet. It is me and you, Rich, so it's probably going to be King's Row. Oh wait, no, it's Escort, so it's not going to be King's Row. That's a hybrid map, by the way. Caster.
Maybe you're just forecasting that we're going to have Team Burrito take this one and we will see King's Row. Maybe that's where it all came from.
Okay, yeah.
The big chat brain.
That's what I use my force powers for. You know, the actual Kenobi uses it to like save the galaxy. I decide what map we're gonna see in the rest of the series. You know, that's what we're doing.
I mean, hey, as long as you're using the force for good. I mean, come on, let's be real.
True.
But, you know, again, we also just want to take a moment, since I know we're still waiting to hop into this, we also have to give another recognition to our other sponsor, which is going to be Esports Tower. For $5 a week, the same cost of a Frappuccino, which I could talk about in and of itself as a Starbucks worker, Esports Tower will pair you with a professional coach and a team of committed players. Twice a week, you'll practice and prepare at bi-weekly competitive events. They also have the industry insider talks, how-to workshops, and networking events that give you exclusive access to pro players, general managers, managers, collegiate coaches, and scouts, which is amazing. And no other amateur club does more to help you improve your skills, as well as get you connected and considered for colleges and career opportunities. And that's such an amazing opportunity with the Natter X Community Beta. Clash is having Esports Tower as a sponsor, and we greatly appreciate them being able to help sponsor among so many who have participated in this, because I can tell you right now, this is such some great high-level beta Overwatch 2 play.
Yeah, I mean, this has been really fun. I mean, again, that C9, gonna be talking about that one for a long time. But,
It's already
I mean,
on Twitter, I guarantee it, probably somewhere.
Even that push map was like I really like the way that that WISP played it. I think Team Burrito had some good ideas as well. The thing that I'm interested about going into this next map is Team Burrito going to switch it all, because WISP has been the one to adapt a little bit more so, and Team Burrito has been sticking on to this like zombie composition-esque type of deal. But now, I mean, at this point where you're at match point, you're up against match point rather, you have to break serve. Do they switch it up a little bit? I would imagine that the caliber of the players that we have here on Team Burrito, they could play, some other compositions, but again, maybe they found a way, they've downloaded WISP for 2 maps, and they're just like, okay, now we know a way to play this composition a little bit differently, focus on some different targets, play it a little bit, faster or slower pace, depending on what they've seen, because that is going to be something that I think is going to be impactful when we go to that map, is Team Burrito switching up a bit.
It also kind of calls a little bit to something I mentioned earlier, where I talked a lot about WISP being a really well-oiled machine, because a lot of the roster and the players are specifically and strategically long-time WISP players, whereas we look on the opposing side when it comes from Team Burrito, that they've had a little bit more of the cream of the crop picked and kind of blended together. You and I talked about a couple of those key factors when we talk about the collegiate realm, or if it's coming from Altiora or Solaris. So there's some really, really great all-around talent, but now having to have them work together in tandem onto something that they feel confident with, and that might lead them to wanting to stick onto this same composition that's allowing them to just say, all right, we're going to take what we feel comfortable with, we like how we're playing it, we're just going to need to refine it, versus maybe networking into something that they don't feel as confident in, compared to how well WISP is playing just throughout their responsive and reactiveness to what Team Burrito is bringing.
And as we go into our next map, which we do now know is going to be Watch Point Gibraltar, it's interesting to me that this is the map that's been chosen, because I do think that this is a good map for the composition that they want to run if you're Team Burrito, right? You do have this, infinite skybox on the first point and the third point that you can use effectively with something like an Echo. I think Winston does very good in maps like this. I hope we don't see Roadhog, because we saw what that looks like on Gibraltar. In Owl, didn't work out too well, but hey, anything can happen here in the beta clash as we do load into this map, and already you can see a little bit of change, it looks like, from Team Burrito. Well, yeah. I should hold until they actually all get here, because they could definitely just walk back and, switch it up a bit. But a little bit of change. So Luke Mino's going to be going over to that Ana, it looks like, and the Briggs. So this is a little bit of difference between what we saw in that last map. It does offer you a little bit more of that, sustained healing with something like a Brigitte and with the Ana. Anti-nades, very impactful, almost game or fight winning, especially against a composition like what WISP is bringing to the table, where you don't have anything to eat it, right? And it's Briggs Zen. Briggs Zen hates anti-nades. So if Luke Mino is going to be hitting Pater with these anti-nades, it's going to be great for Team Burrito's chances to win.
And we've seen Luke Mino play a mean Ana before on a couple of serious occasions. But the other thing I'm also really looking at too is Dove on this Widowmaker. What kind of value are they going to be gaining while this aggressive position moves forward, and trying to find these proper angles to get the advantage, especially looking for King?
And one of the things about this for the Widowmaker is that Widowmaker doesn't necessarily have too much in terms of contention right here, right? They have these sight lines, they can basically take any angles they want, they just have to be worried about that cart pushing all the way down. And you can see Dove is going to be in a pretty good position, probably getting taken a little bit low here, but already love the positioning that I'm seeing from Team Burrito, right? They're holding down these angles, not letting King get into a position where they can free farm, because they have to be worried about that Widowmaker on the other side.
And look at how Crowley's just like ebb and flow, this liquid type of play. Nice pickup though from Dove to take down Rocket with that headshot, keeping tabs on where the positioning is from WISP to not allow them to keep this fluid momentum forward, and really just causing them to draw back.
Yeah, and I mean, without Tracer, they can't really juggle the cart, so they do have to back off. And again, it's all going to be on Dove right here, and this is good from WISP as Luke Mino gets absolutely blasted by CJ with the right click.
Yep, that's going to spell disaster for the time being as you have Tree
CJ.
falling in suit. CJ, this is the second time that we've seen them be able to really accelerate at this Zenyatta play, once already on the control path, and once again now on this map of watch points.
I mean, sometimes it really just be like that. You know, you just
Yeah.
walk out some way and Zen just right-clicks you and you die. Like, Luke Mino was getting close towards that nano. If Luke Mino lives in that scenario, you potentially have that nano to bring it back, and unfortunately for Team Burrito, they're going to be behind the 8-ball a little bit, but Dove is able to take down Crawley, so this again should be a position where Dove has these sightlines to work with. It's a little bit more enclosed, so King shouldn't necessarily have the easiest free lines to work with in an enclosed area like this.
Especially since they've been able to push through these 4 doorways. That's the most challenging position, but as I say that, Wisp is actually going to have to draw back. They can't look to stick into this. Rocket, though, takes down the counterpart. Tree can't manage to stay in this engagement with the Tracer play, and looking now at least just to keep this payload moving and contested, with Wisp down below, keeping an eye on those top bridgeway positions, the catwalk where both supports are.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so hard for King to get a lot of value here in a scenario like this because, again, not only are you going up against a Widowmaker, as Rocket gets taken very low, has to get the health back, but is going to go down, potentially here, Tree takes him out.
Yep, Tree managing to remove that. Now you're going to have Team Burrito on this defensive side managing to hold these 4 doors, which is going to be a challenge for this Wisp squad to move through.
Wisp now, I mean, this is a little bit of the scary position for them, where they only really have 4 ways of entries, 2 technically if you're counting just the sides, and they're going to have to potentially try and just brute force their way in with some ultimates, because without it, they're just going to continuously get spammed down.
And with that sightline up top, focusing at least one of those doors or 2 on the right-hand side is going to be significant, but Vega leads in with the rally, making sure they've got that extra armor. Dub can't quite get an angle that's necessary for valuable pickups. Looking for that rocket position once again, almost clips the heels, but dodges out of the way. As Dub now goes up top again, can't really find any sightlines. This is such a challenge. You're losing any kind of value, and Team Burrito is attempting to do everything they can versus a forward 5.
Oh, and now they're all stuck in this room. Crawley's going to try and make something happen with this engage, but here comes the Tracer on the other side. Tree doesn't manage to find anything.
Nope, has to recall and get out of there. They don't have enough health, nor do they have that pulse bomb online to try and commit, but they're going to have Crowley in the back with this Doomfist play. Just, again, such lucrative movement. He actually gets out of it in time to maneuver up top to drop back down onto the support line. Rack Attack and Lumino are being harassed, but you can see finally Team Burrito getting the better end of this exchange, and Tree harassing CJ to not allow them to get another right click.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Rocket a lot, but Tree on the Tracer is no slouch themselves. They're completely clutching up that fight. Now it's going to be Wisp again Wisp having to come back through these doors. It's a scary position for them to be in. I like that King has gone over to the Genji because, again, offers a little bit more value than something like the Echo. Isn't as squishy as probably goes in to try and take out Dove.
And now Dub up top, just not going to want to take that fight. Goes down below onto the counter side. Gets a shot onto Rocket. The fight with a double now. And the triple. Dub comes in on fire. Rhino says, that's fine. That's fine. You got 3. I'll take the 4th one. Don't worry. They give a salute to each other, and let's run it back.
That was disgusting from Dove there. 3 headshots, 3 kills, taken away. And I mean, again, it's just so hard for Wisp to get to this Widow because you see Crowley every single time is forcing every single cooldown to get to the top of the ship, but no one else has the ability to take him down unless CJ just finds a random right-click Zen volley. There's no one that can get to Dove.
And then if Dove can elude Crowley, now you leave yourself vulnerable for Wisp, where the rest of Burrito can get in and do work onto either the support line or even prevent Rocket or King from getting any value. But now the Dragon Blade about to be online, finally getting it as those shurikens pummel Rhino on this high ground. And you've got to pick up once again, though. Dove finds the angle. CJ can't play the game. This Dragon Blade is a hope and a prayer, but Rock Attack gets that one instantly with a play and shuts them down.
I mean, this has been Dove differential this entire time, it feels like. I mean, there's just no way, if they're on the high ground, to get to them. King is going back over to the Echo just to offer a little bit more spam, but there's only a minute left, and these are fights that Burrito are winning without using ultimates. That's the crazy part, is they are able to get so much now in their bank. Pulse Bomb's available to them. Rally, alongside a Primal Rage, and by the time Wisp gets to this fight, it's going to be 30 seconds, and then we're looking at last fight territory here, Rich.
With Crowley down below, waiting to see if they can get an angle onto this. Dove still the focus. to try and eliminate since they've been repeated value across the way. Honestly, this is a little bit chaotic right now. The Pulse Bomb comes through by Rocket, but can't get anything. Primal Rage is even committed, even though the Discord Orb is on top. They've got to bail. Going up top onto the high ground to elude the damage from the focusing beam of King, dropping underneath actually into the ship itself. And now as we approach with 20 seconds to go, this is the dire stretch, and they're going to look to lead in with this Meteor Strike soon.
Yeah, rally available here but here comes the Nano, and that's actually an anti. They have to force out trance from CJ.
That's big. They needed to, though, or they were going to lose the Zenyatta play. Crowie gets the Meteor Strike out and also topped up for the moment. Rhino low underneath, has to pop the shield to survive. I have no idea myself as they finally go down. CJ gets the pickup, and this overtime will continue. Dove up top needs to step up, gets a shot just behind the shield, but Vega still survives. Just clips him in the shoulder and not the back of the skull, but King gets the focusing beam to shut down Dove, keeping this overtime pressure forward. Luke Mino shut down. Tree follows suit, and you now finally have Team Burrito brought down and Wisp reaching this next checkpoint.
Burrito finally are able to take down the Elden Ring boss that was Dove, and they're able to move forward 2 seconds, given an extra life, but it's not too long of a life, only a minute, but Dove takes down King again. Dove has been on one this map so far, and can Team Burrito take down this Widowmaker player and finally complete this map?
I mean, and this is the spa day for Dove. They're in prime position. This is a beautiful location to have this Widowmaker, especially with only 60 seconds to go. There's a lot of different angles, sight lines to find. Doesn't actually get either of those shots onto CJ. They're wishing that they could take those back and take them again. Sticky bombs now come out onto Dove, the flanking from Crowie, rotating into the back position, causing some harassment, losing that damage value, but Tree has to step up in place to do so, keeping this corner well held as Rhino also gets the Tesla Cannon damage. Crowie aggresses forward, gets the extra armor packs up front by Vega, but Vega, that shield can't block the Tesla Cannon damage as they continue to harass them in the backside, and Team Burrito comes out again to take this and keep pushing it forward on the defense.
I mean, if you want to know how much of a menace Dove has been, think about the fact that King duped the Tracer just to have 2 Tracers go onto the Widow, and Widow was like, fine, I'm just going to go back into my spawn. Oh, Rocket's out of position. Goodbye, Rocket. They are just focusing down Dove so hard, but Dove is just lording this entire time, and we're in last fight territory. Rich, desperate swap from King onto the Sombra just to offer some hacks.
Yep, Rocket has to get there to proc the overtime. This Tesla Cannon damage with the Nano boost from Luke Mino is going to be electrifying. And Dove in the wings, finding the angles, and you've got round 1 completed with Team Burrito adopting a different strat and putting the weight onto Dove's shoulders, squatting them like it's nothing.
I mean, honestly, like, why just take him off Widow at this point? Like, this has just been, I mean, this has been an absolute Widowmaker masterclass from Dove. Knowing that realistically, like, there wasn't that much, especially on second, that Wisp could do to get to them. Like, it was just the Doomfist engage, but then you're like, okay, fine, I'm going to grapple to somewhere, you know, next to my Brig, next to my healers, where even if the dive comes in from the DPS, it doesn't matter because I'm being pocketed by 2 people. Just good understanding from Team Burrito and from Dove to really punish Wisp and their lack of, you know, long-range contention or just potential to dive onto Dove.
And as we take the swap of sides, we can now look at the composition defensively here. And I have a feeling that Wisp know that they're going to be seeing this possible Widowmaker again after the value that's been brought into this. And honestly, I like the fact that they're going to keep the Sombra. This is also something that we've been seeing a little bit more in relevancy as well, even in the Overwatch League, trying to find these niche usages to really gain value for team compositions.
Did you just say niche that way?
Niche.
Niche. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
What did you think I said?
I heard you say something a little bit different. I thought it was niche. You know, niche, as a French person, I need to know that that's what it's called. So you gotta respect it.
Oh, good. Okay, well, now that we've gotten the complaint about me potentially saying niche incorrectly, we'll start looking at this because we do have the hack already on a Dove to try and prevent this Widowmaker from getting the value that we've seen previously.
I mean, this time it's a little bit, I think, easier because you don't have just those, like, free sightlines to just stand behind on the defensive end, right? Like, you can't just set up somewhere. You have to be continuously moving, continuously aware. Crowie already gets headshot. I mean, they need to get to Dove, and they need to get to Dove pronto in scenarios like this. And you can already see King is just doing all that they can to just make themselves a nuisance.
I mean, some of these shots are so close, too. And even when they're missing, they're just making my heart stutter a little bit. As there's a nice pickup on to CJ. Dove just has their number at this point. I'm not letting you play the game, and this payload's just free pushing.
I mean, even like you can even see King is like going to try and do damage to Dove, you know, hacking them, but gets taken down so low because the Burrito is always positioned perfectly.
Oh.
Vega gets taken down by Dove again. It's just a shooting gallery right now for Dove. No one can stop them.
They're just at the target range, just having free fire on the wall. I mean, this is just pick after pick. That's the second triple kill in a row that we've seen come out from Dove this map.
This is like the Rock Lee weights in like Naruto Shippuden, Naruto, when they're just like, you know what? Okay, I'm just dropping the weights. It's time for me to frag. Rock Lee going in. Dove is absolutely on another one right now, and they are going to get a 5-minute time bank going into second. This is Team Burrito showing up when they need to the most.
I mean, they got extra hot sauce in this burrito right now because it's spicy. It is just unreal. Dove gonna hold this angle too, looking for a shot. Can't get the necessary pickup, but looks for the window between the canisters. Oh my, and they're not even ready for it. They're just seeing the bullets whiz by the dome. Crowley gets hit by the bio nade, causing him to play a little bit more defensively, but this payload's still moving down below.
See, I mean, Rocket just trying to duel. Actually, he's able to take down Tree. That is a big deal, but on the other side, Rocket is just trying to make something happen. Has the pulse bomb ready. Rack attack. Are they ready for it? They jump down in time.
Yep, they managed to elude it. It doesn't get the stick, so you still have Team Burrito nano boost onto Rhino up top, seeing if they can continue to get that extra damage necessary, but Crowley gets slept in the midst of the nano themselves, taking a lovely, lovely dreamland sleep as they actually are able to recover from this. I didn't think they were going to. They managed to do so.
Yeah, this is very scrappy right now. Dub was able to take down CJ, so now it's only just Lucio heals for Wisp here in this scenario. Crowley has no legs to stand on, gets taken out. King is going to be going down soon as well. Lucio just has to dive in with them. Maybe it's a little bit too deep for Wisp.
And you can see Rocket up top waiting just to try and find some value here in the recontest on this bottom position. They're going to try and do what they can, but yeah, it'll just start to fall to the wayside. They'll be able to dwindle the clock. That's the biggest opportunity for them. Unless they can get this takedown onto the brig, the Bionade actually lands and comes true and forces them back.
Luke with an absolutely clutch nade there. Now Rock Attack is still alive, and they can rally in this next fight. They have the sustainability win, Team Burrito.
Rally active, getting that little bit of armor onto Tree before going in, gets the stick. CJ's down. It might not have been Dove this time, but Tree sure had their number. They passed it along, sent it SMX text message, and now you've got this underpass going to be very overwhelmed. You just got Tree chasing him down, and that's going to be a jump off the cliff. Rocket knows their days are numbered, and that's another checkpoint gained.
Oh, Tree. I love it. You know, you gotta flex a little bit. You know,
Tree, your branches are big because you're throwing a lot of shade, my friend.
That's a good one. Someone else should steal that. That's a very good one. I like that.
I know. Somebody, I'm gonna coin that one. Just like my Dawn Market.
I mean, 4 minutes right now for Team Burrito. Don't even have to push all the way to the end. Just halfway through. Wisp have to put up a hell of a fight, but they have ultimate. Oh my God, Dove! Stop! They have families.
Oh my goodness, Dove on the high ground gets the grapple shot on to this Echo play. King is absolutely bewildered. This fight is going to start going in favor of Wisp here if they can just focus fire the remaining few, but I gotta tell you, that's leaving a mark.
I mean, Rhino's in the backline as well, just zoning out members, and that actually is gonna be it. They don't even get back to the point. They went back to deal with Rhino.
Oh my.
I don't know if I'm gonna consider that a C9 because it was already almost probably a fight loss.
I mean,
no, we're not. After what we saw earlier, I mean, Dove is gonna get play of the game obviously because they deserve it. Like,
let's see which one is it.
I don't think it's got to be the 3K.
Oh, I know. I'm just looking at which one. Here's just pick up.
Goodbye.
Oh my goodness. Doesn't even need the full charge. Just like, it's okay. I'm good.
See, the cool thing is that they would have died to body shots anyways, but Dove was just like, I'm going to hit the head. It doesn't matter. I'm going to make sure that you know that I'm popping off. And Team Burrito, I mean, when they needed it most again, bringing it back. Dove with an absolutely wonderful performance on that Widowmaker. Wisp seemed like they looked a little bit lost in how to deal with it. You know, we saw a bunch of different things, you know, bring out the Echo, bring out the Genji, trying to dive onto Dove, but Dove really well played with the rest of Team Burrito, kind of just like raising the puppy and making sure that there was no way for Dove to ever get taken out unless something like really scary happened or there was a wallet differential in terms of ults.
Raising the puppy. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, it's raising the puppy. You just like there's one player and you just like you raise the puppy. It's from it's an old esports adage.
It just made me think of those old school. What are those things where like you had your little creature that you'd feed with your Tamagotchi or whatever? Yeah. That's what it made me think of. I was like, I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's
You
what's
also
gonna
said
happen.
SMS text during that cast.
I know I did. I know. That's just
You're
showing
showing
my
your age a little
I'm
bit.
showing my age. I'm showing my age and my customer service years. How about you send us an SMS text message at the number below, and we'll be able to give you some lovely customer service. But let's digress away from that moment. But yeah, no, Dove right now was basically finding an open wound and pouring salt and extra barbed wires for wrapping around it. I mean, it was disgusting, the type of Widowmaker value. But we've even seen this in Overwatch League, where we've seen these Widowmaker plays come out of nowhere because the lack of shielding. You don't really have anything that can deny it. You have to commit. Crowley, every time, as you commented on multiple occasions, going into this, attempting to get rid of Dove, but never could. And then once you commit that dive to it, the rest of your team is left to fend for themselves.
Yeah, you have to like make sure that like if you're going to dive the Widow, you have to like, as forehead as it sounds, you have to kill them, and you have to make sure that there's like, if you're going to commit everything for that, it has to get value. And the good thing that Team Burrito was doing was it's like, even if you do commit like everything, our Widow's like pocketed by Brigana. Like, what are you going to do? There's no way that Doomfist, Genji Tracer, if we're playing this correctly, should be able to get into our backline like that. And just, again, really phenomenally played from the entirety of Team Burrito. There is WISP. I guess the good thing as well for Team Burrito is that we saw a different look, right? Because they had been playing almost exclusively this like zombie Dallas dive composition. Now we see something different. We see Dove on a different hero, able to pop off on that Widowmaker, and this opens up avenues for Team Burrito going into these next couple of maps, because remember, they're still against match point here. They have to win the next two off the trot, and they're not their map picks. So if I'm WISP here, I'm like, okay, let's go to a map where like we don't do Widowmaker. How about we go to a map that's like not good for Widowmaker? How about we just do that?
And if I remember, refresh my memory, but I think I'm right. Didn't you make a comment to King's Row? Like, I know we don't have the map pick yet, but the force at which that you were using, that you were talking about, that we mentioned you used it for good, got us more Overwatch. And I mean, I'm okay being your partner if you're able to tell the fortunes like that.
It'd be like King's Row, and then like I'm trying to remember like in the cavity of my head like what the other hybrid maps would be. But King's Row is like the one that I think is the most is the one that gets played the most, because Scrims Row, all those memes and stuff like that. Is a good Widow map, especially on first. I think on third as well, you can have some good movements with the Widowmaker. But if it goes to King's Row, I would expect potentially Team Burrito to move back towards more of the zombie style, where they just play that Dallas dive, because I believe they played that in the last time as well. Next map is actually going to be Midtown, so one of our new maps, which is going to be fun for us.
Yes, indeed. We get to have the glorious opportunity of going to Midtown. This one always being an interesting one. We've seen a lot of more of the Doomfist, of a Winston play, having that dive type of position, entering onto this initial point where you are looking to capture it with the fire truck to transition into that street phase, to go underneath that car wash segment under the bridgeway. There's a lot of different positions that I think they can play with this, and I'm really, really interested in seeing what type of compositions are going to come out from this, especially when it comes to the adjustment that we had from Team Burrito on that map of Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Yeah, and this is also a map where I think Widowmaker is very hard to play. Yeah. I think especially on first. I think this is a good decision from WISP. I think you can, like, obviously you can still go into the character select or the hero select, pick Widowmaker, try and play it on this map. It's just like it's something that we don't see too entirely much of. This is like where we see a lot of the Soldier 76. Genji also very prominent on this map. We've also seen some Reinhardt plays. I don't know if we necessarily see. That seems like a very stylistic thing for like Owl, some of the Owl teams. But I would agree. Anything can happen, It is the beta clash.
True.
Anything besides Orisa, because we're not seeing that as much as I know. Much as you love Orisa,
as much as my hopes and dreams are being buried in the dirt.
It's not happening.
I mean, yeah, I know. But
I'm sorry, I have to break that to
you. You don't have to break it to me. I think I have nightmares of it in my sleep already. But as we do enter in onto this, it is going to be WISP on the defensive side first here. And again, looking at the composition and then looking at, Team Burrito, especially when it comes onto this attacking side, the Widowmaker even more of a challenge. That we talk about, Widow not really getting a lot of sight lines. There aren't too many high ground positions that you can take. Very easy access to those high ground positions, or having this dive centric type of composition to counter it. But as we take a look at the defensive side, we do have Crowley going once again on this Diva, who has actually played quite a stellar version of it. But Vega is the big focus here. We get to see the Mercy that we've not actually gotten to see much value before.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of Mercy, but I think they're basically opting in for the fact that they want to just pocket King in the air and just kind of make this a, I wouldn't say a 1v1, but more of a, 1v2, 2v2, depending on what Team Burrito opts in for with their support line. And it does offer also that kind of get out of jail free card where if you do get picked early, you do have that ability for resurrection. So keep an eye out for that, especially from both of these teams, where Team Burrito has a significant, I would say, respawn advantage here, and they have a res of their own. So Vega is going to have to play incredibly carefully to get a good positioning for that resurrection if they need it.
And you can already see over this train, they're able to get quite a bit of value poking in damage. Tree going to stick very closely towards it to use it to block any sort of retaliation and damage, but Rocket down below looking to see if they can network into the tube for the time being. But interesting type of methodology that they're going here. They're not continuing to play the high ground. They're really looking for this under archway and over top position to try and get the damage in. And King finally gets value onto Rock Attack, though.
Yeah, you can see they're just trying to flank around here. And with Rack Attack not here, that means that Team Burrito has no legs to stand on. They can't move forward. They need their Mercy, especially they need it for Tree, who can't take any duels without King, or with King, if there is no Mercy in their back pocket. And Team Burrito, again, just waiting patiently, trying to move forward. It looks like they're going to start moving through that low ground now as a unit so that they don't start getting spammed continuously by King.
Yeah, they're going to maneuver just around that park to see if they can get some value. And actually, Rocket's got to force the recall underneath here near the trash cans, getting a lot of damage underneath. As this is just a very slow, methodical way that you're having Team Burrito trying to push onto this. The ultimate finally available here for Dub. Tree gets hit by the bio nade, and King's looking to try and aggress into it to see if they can get the follow through, but can't manage to do that either.
Yeah, knows their limits, though. Doesn't go as far. Just try and get that kill. And actually, here comes the Nano.
Wow. That's going to be big. The damage is so much onto that front line. Rhino can't sustain through it. Focusing beam as well. Rack Attack unable to escape or utilize that mobility to couple with Tree. And that will be a shutdown here with Wisp on the defense dominating again.
Yeah, the time is starting to tick as well. These are just stagger kills at the current moment right now. They need to get retreat as fast as they can. Team Burrito, I mean, in terms of just the Echo, battle that we've seen so far, it seems that King is based on ultimate charge, is in the lead. The other thing that's been incredibly impressive is that Rocket has done a really good job, even though they're behind significantly in terms of ultimate charge. They've been checking Dove pretty significantly, and while they're not necessarily winning the 1v1, they're not letting Dove get into that backline and cause havoc without working.
Duplicate now coming out onto the Zarya. Double tank is active. Again, not having the full health value, but still attempting to do work with it, as you do have CJ just eluding that pulse bomb. Oh my, that could have been dangerous, but still pumping out the healing self-destructs, tossed into the air. Couple of shots as well onto the back line to prevent Team Burrito from moving onto this position swiftly. Self-destruct doesn't get anything either. This is still Wisp managing to hold on to this despite the res coming through by Rack Attack to get Lukmino online. It finally actually goes in favor of Tree because they have Tree cleaning it up. Team Burrito pulls this out.
Yeah, just the Mercy, and only the supports are left here for Wisp. They have to retreat, and they can potentially get another recontest, but they have to get to this point so quickly. I don't even know if they're going to have time, Rich.
It's going to be a risky play. You're going to have Crowley lead into it. Actually, they get Rocket first with a nano boost. Pulse bomb going to be committed, but only mitigates some of the shielding as CJ gets the takedown onto Luke Mino, which is massive, but the grab is there to hold them back. It bottlenecks them into the archway, so they are free to take damage, and Team Burrito, with a clutch grab, comes out to take the victory in that fight.
Oh, that was such a good grab from Rhino specifically. Also, the fact that he was able to dodge away from the defense matrix of Crowley and hit it in a position where it wouldn't be in. Wonderfully played from them, and Wisp, or Team Burrito rather, are given a new lease on life here moving forward. 2.5 minutes through the second phase of Midtown. Wisp, not a lot of ultimates to talk about in their back pocket. Dove has a pulse bomb, which is going to be something to keep a lookout for because you can either get a kill or force out a res, which are both incredibly impactful ultimates.
I mean, the other thing to really keep an eye out for is Rhino being on this wrecking ball. Not really seeing much of this either. First time getting an opportunity to see it debut so far at this Natter tournament for the community, as we do now look to try and see them round the upside. Manages to get Rocket. Will be able to eliminate that harassment in the back line to keep this push.
I mean, one of the things that Hammond is going to do really well here is disruption. Like, you can just get into that back line, be a menace alongside the rest of your team with that dive. It offers a lot of disruption and survivability. That's something maybe Winston doesn't necessarily have the same amount of. And if you can really work with these ledges and get those power drives in the back line, it'll work out well for you.
Tree, Nano instantly going to try and take advantage up on this high ground, looking for the supports in the back position. Focusing beam is there. What a sleep to at least mitigate some of the damage, but it won't matter. Tree is still unleashing hell onto this back line. The duplicate comes out onto the Diva for a lightning fast self-destruct, but their health value is instantly blown up because Rocket's pumping out the damage alongside King.
I mean, Rocket's had a performance of a lifetime this series. It feels like absolutely unreal. With the way we saw Dove play on that Widowmaker and how well Rocket has done, kind of just neutralizing Dove as an effective tool has been phenomenal so far, especially on this map of Midtown. As you look at the ultimates that are coming in for WISP, they're about to have 4 of them in their back pocket. Team Burrito, not quite close to a lot of theirs yet. That Nano is going to be the big one to look out for. Goes directly onto King and can get some assassinations in that back line.
Yeah, brilliant play all around. Rocket continuing to maintain this high ground position. Self-destruct gets lobbed, but is going to be far too high, so everyone hides
Oh,
underneath
no, not
archway
again,
as you've got a backline aggression. Rocket responds. Oh my, it was almost a chance that Team Burrito was going to have a C9 moment themselves, reaching that checkpoint, but with the recovery here from WISP, they hold on the defense and just need to focus fire outside of this minefield, which they're doing a very good job. They're just trying to elude those bombs to prevent them from getting blown to bits as a pulse bomb now is available. Rocket, those minefields are still there, mind you, and able to give way to this chance for Team Burrito to push the remaining 1.5 meters just above it. As a res comes through, Tree gets the triple, and that will be a checkpoint reached.
That might have been one of the greatest minefields I've seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like, you saw just in that view that the Azures gave us, shout out to them because it was fantastic. The way that they were just, like, dancing around those mines, they couldn't basically get back onto the cart and fight from there. They had to continuously dance around them for threat of dying. And Team Burrito are like, okay, we're going to just get back with all of our members as an anti-nade comes out from CJ, and this might be an aggressive push here from WISP.
Dance, dance, the dance of Midtown. Absolutely. As you do see Tree now looking to get some damage boost in the back line for the Mercy with a duplicate online. Sticky bombs coming through once again onto Crowley, which are being consistently consumed by the defense matrix. But this amplification matrix is going to ensure that they can peek this corner, and everyone from WISP is going to play more defensively to not be in those sidelines as a sticky bomb comes in onto Rocket.
Oh, Rocket's going down. There's no Mercy as well, so there's no resurrection possibility, and this is just an aggression coming in from Team Burrito. They're going in deep.
Yep, duplicate now, 300 HP, getting instantly shut down. Sub 100 HP, and now you've been DMAC'd with a baby Diva gonna get blown to bits. King, it's a great cleanup onto Tree, and also the removal of Luke Mino's Immortality Field makes this even more challenging for Team Burrito to sustain through this. 40 seconds to go, and they're in the dire stretch.
But I mean, Team Burrito are still fighting here. Pulse One comes in onto CJ. That's a lot of healing lost.
That's big value. Vega's got so much riding on their shoulders. There's no way that they can keep everyone alive at the moment, and they are barely alive themselves as Dub finally gets the angle, shutting him down. No shield can prevent those pepper damage shots coming in for the pulse pistols.
CJ's coming back in with the Nano. There is Rally potentially as well, but they have to get someone to touch. Here comes the Nano onto King.
Yep, King does get the extra health to make it in contention. Rocket, oh my! They can't get it in time. The damage and focus fire are far too aggressive. They at least proc the contestant so that they can't keep the completion. But Luke Mino in the back is going to be able to give some extra damage, top everybody up. This is going to be WISP defensively just being overrun. They have no way to recover. And King, that's just a sad, sad moment.
Yeah, heartbreaker there. I mean, if you had gotten that duplicate, you might not necessarily, like, completely turn the fight. It was still going to be very hard from then on out, but you would have survived a little bit longer as well. Gotten that duplicate. Team Burrito, though, full credit to them from what they've been doing. I mean, the way that they've changed up their composition, they're not just playing the zombie dive anymore. They're, you know, switching it up. We saw what they did on Gibraltar. We're seeing what they're doing now on Midtown, and Midtown seems like it's usually a map that's pretty hard to complete, I feel like, and getting it all the way to the end there, definitely props to them as WISP going back to the drawing board a little bit here on their offense, I think they'll probably stick a little bit with more something like this, Echo Tracer. I think Rocket was doing a good job making sure Dove was not as much of a factor, but on the other side, like, Tree was doing a really good job on their own. Some Luke Mino going bat to bat, I mean, is something that, like, things never change, it feels like, no matter what in Overwatch.
Back to back. Gonna go back to back, back to back, back to back. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
Death, Taxes, and Luke Mino playing Baptiste. That's where we're at right now.
Yep.
And it actually, I mean, when you're that good at Baptiste, I think it works out pretty well for them. This is just a completely new look for Team Burrito.
Yeah.
Bring out the Hammond as well, something we haven't seen. I mean, we couldn't in a couple of weeks ago, but now we're seeing it, and it seems to be working out pretty well for Team Burrito.
They're utilizing it very well and able to work it into this composition and find value with it, and really only picking and choosing those optimal moments to really utilize it. And they feel in this initial defensive position, it's going to do the same thing.
I would wonder if WISP is going to start going through Trainer, if they're going to go through the high ground. Again, the Echo battle is going to be incredibly important to watch out for, because whoever kind of gets the advantage in that gets a little bit more space for their team.
Yep, Rocket now harassing Luke Mino and gets the pickup. That's going to be game over with a bio-nade from CJ. What a lightning fast response. The res is there, but you sack Rack Attack in the instance of it. Immortality Field will buy a hot second for you to just walk away for a moment, but those boots can't get you any higher now, as that's going to be an instant take here on this initial point.
Dove is kind of around right now, and looks like they are going to be going for a proc of that overtime, but Crowley is back in mech, so this is going to make it even harder. Team Burrito can try for this, and with Rhino coming back, they will.
Nice armor, though. Big damage onto Rhino, looking to reposition towards the middle. As you do have Rocket and Crowley picking off one player at a time, the focus fire is there, unable to do anything, with Luke Mino opting to go onto this Zenyatta to try and get the Discord or for the pickups. He can't do anything with that many down, and it's 5 minutes and 10 to move for the rest of this.
Yeah, very hefty time bank here, but this is where I think Hammond will start to get a little bit more value, especially with all the avenues you can use that grapple hook and get into that back line. You are going to have to be very careful if you are CJ about these dives coming in from Tree, Dove, and Rhino. It is something that can basically just insta-kill you if you're not careful, so be on the lookout for that. But Nano is available here, can go onto King, get a lot of the incoming burst damage, and then transition that into your duplicate for that extra survivability if you need it.
You can see already the harassment coming through. Nice Discord orb onto King, who is having to play very cautious, getting a lot of boosted healing from the support line in the back from Vega. As the duplicate once again can't be active, is pummeled, and will put WISP in this attacking position in a very uncomfortable one.
I mean, they are going to use the Valkyrie here, so they are trying to commit. Self-destruct committed as well. Dove is almost going to get taken out by the D.Va, doesn't manage to do so. Actually gets taken down by the remake.
Oh, there was enough pistol damage to come through by Crowley to ensure that that mech is going to get the takedown. Miraculously, WISP comes out on top, and I have to say, for a fire truck, this is a really slow-moving one. Every time I look at this, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the house is already burned down at this point. Like, there's nothing stopping you here. But I mean, I gotta give massive props to Crowley as well, who has been on one here on this D.Va. I mean, it's not a pick we see too often, especially in Overwatch League. It's much more of that Winston, and even when it is off-tank, it's Zarya. Crowley's making D.Va work and making it work extremely well.
Yeah, for as little as we've seen it in the grand scale of things, absolutely. As they move out of this underpass, the tunnel has finally been breached. And now Rocket in the back position attempting to try and get this near. Pulse Bomb lands onto the front side of the shield. Doesn't get the full value of the damage, but doesn't matter. They follow through afterwards since that shield has been obliterated. And this will be a checkpoint gain here from WISP as they focus fire that last player a Dove.
And still a lot of time on their time bank. 4.5 minutes almost. And I mean, it's good that Team Burrito finished, because they will potentially get another chance if Whisper finishing in less than a minute. So it has to be a very staunch defense here from Team Burrito. Luckily, they do have that rally in their back pocket. They're also going to have a transcendence. So sustainability is going to be there for them in spades. They just have to be very careful about these anti-nades, because anti-nades from CJ will wreck this team if they're not careful.
Absolutely. And as as Payload now looks to try and keep the corner here. This is the same position that you did have on the return side, where Team Burrito was able to get a lot of value pressing forward. Nano boost. Transcendence is there. Oh, but a Bongo nade that comes in from downtown. CJ makes sure that that value will be gained off the Nano onto King. And this fire truck continues to move with another minefield, hoping to stop its presence forward.
I mean, they still have the health in their back pocket from the rally due to supports, and the minefield, again, so good at just zoning members off and stopping the bleeding, essentially, here, but Valkyrie is being committed to come back in.
Oh, Rocket barely gets topped up. This TBT underneath is going to be a challenge for Rocket, as there is extra assistance from Rhino with this Wrecking Ball. Maneuvering into the back position, Payload still continues to push forward as that fire truck is going to be rounded by Rocket. Damage all around. Pulse Bomb v Pulse Bomb comes in. CJ, though, brought back to the life. And now looks to continue pushing as it's 3 minutes and 10 seconds still to go.
Oh, this self-destruct is also here and available for Crawley. There comes the duplicate onto the Tracer. Can they take out the Tracer in time before the Pulse Bomb comes out?
They really need to. They have to remove him from this equation. Nice stick absorption for the time being. Huge recovery here and gets a Bionade to stop that Tracer play. Responsiveness is so key from WISP, but now Crowley is so low and still survives.
I mean, how is Crowley alive? How is CJ alive? It feels like neither of them should be alive in this scenario, in this fight. He's still just going back and forth. It's so scrappy.
Yeah, it really is. And now you're going to have Rhino fall back and hold this corner. Again, they've already dwindled quite a bit of time off this streets phase so far, making it closer. Self-destruct by Crowley, tossed into the back. Oh no, vulnerable, but they forced out the recall. Dub wasn't able to toss out the pulse bomb, which is a great assistance from the support line in the back.
Pulse from Dub is available. You can see Crowley is sticking to them. Luke Mino is able to take down CJ, and that's a lot of healing that's lost. Only brick heals remain for WISP. They have to retreat.
Yeah, they're going to leave instantly. They need to just wait for that 5th member. They can't stick around.
I mean, Team Burrito, against support ults, it's in their back pocket. The anti-nade, a big deal against these specific ones. And Rhino, every single minefield they've had has been perfect at just creating time and zoning members away. And right now, that's what you're playing for. Rocket gets the pulse bomb, doesn't manage to find anything.
Big shield now attempts to get the pickup onto Rocket, dashes forward with the melee, but finds himself slept in the midst of the damage that comes through. Rack attack giving the rally here for Team Burrito to play up front, and they shut down another engagement, but they did commit quite a bit into that.
Oh, and a tale as old as time right here. Stagger onto the baby diva. I mean, this has gone from a 4.5 minute time bank here, Rich, to 1.5 minute. And now it's on WISP, really, to be like, we need to complete this map, not just complete it with time. At this point, Team Burrito will get another shot no matter what by this time. By the time this card gets to the, end of the map. But the question is now, will it even get there?
Yeah, this defensive play from Team Burrito has been brilliant, and Luke Mino now getting that Discordo out so quickly. Looking for the volley onto King. Can't get it. Transcendence is committed. They were able to get enough pressure onto it, but still going to sustain through it. They've got the minefield as well to zone for a 3rd time now from Team Burrito onto WISP.
They have to leave. They have to retreat. 50 seconds, all that's left for them. Team Burrito did use both their support ultimates. They still have the duplicate available to them. And now there's no minefield. King needs this duplicate to be online. It needs to be big with it in this next fight. Tree has one of their own. They need to be able to match it.
Yeah, and Vega's got to get this rally up as well to give that extra health and armament so that they can protect the rest of the team pushing into this, because this corner has just been so challenging to work through. Team Burrito has really held this in lockdown with Rhino especially. Oh, what a stun forces the recall back. Team Burrito has to be cautious here because they are getting picked off very quickly in their health bar.
Vega's going to use this rally. I think you need to use it aggressively here and engage. Use the rally to keep CJ alive, and now this is the go button.
Yep. Anti-nade going to come through as well onto Rhino, making sure that they can prevent the healing coming through, but you've got Luke Mino attempting to find an opportunity to get the volley into the backside. King now low. Duplicate has to come out onto the Tracer. Damage onto the duplicated sleeping Diva. Pulse Bomb active. Gets the explosion, but it's while it's being DMX, so they still get some time to contest against this before the duplicate does end. But Rocket's there to get the double, despite King attempting to do so. The golden box of victory is there, and it's now into overtime.
Stall tactics right now here for Team Burrito. They need to get someone to this point. Dove has the Pulse Bomb, and it could break open, but so does Rocket.
Team Burrito is not out of this yet. They've got the numbers to come back into this. The focus fire is necessary.
Rocket.
The Pulse Bomb still gets Rack Attack. Unbelievable, wasn't able to get the shield to cover it as the self-destruct onto the point zones them away. Rhino gets completely obliterated. There's not enough health to survive through the explosion when you're that close in proximity. Luke Mino is not able to get the immortality field there to keep him alive as well. The overtime will dwindle. Round 2 is completed. It's a minute-to-minute scoreline here for both these teams.
Let's get some extra Overwatch here, Rich, between both these teams. I mean, remember, this is just the winners finals, by the way. There's still a lot more Overwatch. This feels a little bit like we're getting like some grand finals level of Overwatch here between both these teams. This has been absolutely phenomenal between both of them. WISP, I mean, probably kicking themselves a little bit that they weren't able to complete this map with more time because they got to third with 4.5 minutes, and full credit to Team Burrito, who were just great at stalling as much time as they could off the clock and really making WISP sweat. Like, there was almost a chance that WISP wasn't even going to complete the map, but beyond just Rocket with a hero stick onto that Brigitte.
Make sure you follow those signs, friends. No taking photos. I don't know what the top right one is. Throw out your trash? Wait, don't throw out your trash? I'm so confused.
I think it's don't litter.
Oh, don't litter. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I had to think about it for a minute. I'm like, but that's throwing away trash. I'm like, but there's no trash can. So I'm glad that you helped me with that one.
Just don't litter, you know? Don't litter.
Don't
Be
litter.
nice to the environment.
Yes, let's make sure that we don't.
It is your Mother Earth, you know?
Yes, it really is. As we now have these 60 seconds here when it will be Team Burrito on the attacking side first with whiffs defensively. And going to stick to what they know. I like the fact that they're going to keep this. And honestly, Vega on this Mercy has been doing a lot of work coupling with King.
And I think, again, this always first point seems to be about this Echo duel, and then we transition a little bit towards the second parts. But what's really important to me as well is Crawley and their ability to keep the backline safe from the peel, because you're now having Rhino added to this equation where you need to continuously just have your head on a swivel because it's the Dove and the Rhino show just going back into your backline, and you need to keep your members alive.
Oh, wow. Crowley got deleted underneath. That's going to be really detrimental. They have to get back into this mech quickly, but Rhino's going to ensure that it is not an easy task to be done. But, oh, my. The sleep plus a full rocket pulse. Just unbelievable job to recover in this, and Crowley's going to be back in the mech and online.
Yeah, they're not able to take down. Oh, Dove is getting smoked. The heals are there from Luke Mino, and Rack attack. Dove actually doesn't get the heals, and then he goes down. Oh, that's going to have to be a reset here, and time taking off. There's only 4 seconds left. The res has to come in, and Dove is back.
Yep, they got it. Now they're going to need to get Dove to dash onto the point to keep it into the contention, as you do have Luke Mino in the backside forcing out the immortality field. That is going to be instantly covered, though. Kink is there. Damage boost up top here coming out from Vega. They've got the D-Mech onto Crowley. Health bars low. Vega and CJ have a lot on the line here defensively to try and be able to shut this down, but Team Burrito is able to work wonders underneath. But as I say that, Rocket comes in to say otherwise. That pulse pistol unleashing damage to every target in their sightline. The recall brings them back to the full health value to attempt eliminating both of these two. They just have to stop it. Dove is down. Dove gets to themselves, though. It is a back and forth fight, and they still have presence on this with Rhino.
They also have the respawn advantage right here. They've brought back the Sombra just to get someone to the point quickly. Here's another great minefield to res.
Oh my goodness, you've got that high ground position to try and elude. They're going to allow this to be taken. They can't come back in onto it. Rocket now just looking to weave over top to not get hit by the mines. Crowley tucks into the corner, still gets hit by one. There's the D-Mech. The healing isn't enough coming from the back line of Vega, despite having the Valkyrie there, and King's gonna go onto this duplicate for Tree. The Sombra attempting to get that 1 second hack for the focus fire damage, and actually
big EMP
onto 3. Rhino down, Rack attack and Tree fall in suit, and what a miraculous comeback here from WISP to not allow that complete capture on this payload.
I mean, we're in for a treat with this duo of DPSs between what we're seeing from Dove, what we're seeing from Rocket. This TVT battle has been absolutely phenomenal so far. Team Burrito, though, the win condition is set for them. They just need to hold. And basically for WISP, it's at this point with 91%, it's like you just need to take the first point. And that's basically it. Team Burrito, though, huge props to them. Huge props to Dove as well for coming in so clutch with a lot of those kills off the back end. And this is where everything has to fall into place for Team Burrito.
Would it be DPSI instead of DPSs? Like
neither of those have a good mouthfeel. That's the problem.
I mean, it's like trying to say fishes. I mean, fishes is technically grammatically right. It just doesn't seem right.
The English language sucks anyway, so like why do we
I mean,
bother?
yeah, you do speak French, so you can actually say that. I don't know any other
Well, the
language.
French
so-
language sucks too.
Well,
Believe you me,
I was
I
gonna
love
say.
I love having to conjugate like everything, right? Like literally everything in 6 different ways. Oh, this one's for plural. This one's for singular. Like all of these different conjugation. Love it.
Well, the challenge of conjugations, you see the same type of challenge here coming out from WISP on the attacking side to see if they are able to fully complete this and allow themselves to close this out. But Team Burrito not out of this yet. On the defensive side, looking to bring this into a map 5 to see if they can go the distance.
Oh, and you can see Rhino has actually opted into the Diva themselves, so a Diva mirror, not something I was expecting at all, but again, offers that peel, offers a little bit of die potential as well. As you can see, Crawley going in very aggressive here just to take control of this Metro card.
Yep, getting that defense matrix to mitigate most of the damage. The sticky bombs do come through afterwards, though, making it a little bit challenging and have to play cautiously underneath the Metra, as you do have that Tracer play to try and harass with almost like a pincer maneuver here with Rhino on the top position as well.
You're going to be looking at those nanos too between CJ and Luke Mina. Right now, it seems like CJ has a little bit of an advantage, and I mean, it's 15 seconds left. We need to start going. If you're Wisp here, they're only going to get the singular fight.
I mean, at this point, they're trying to see if they can potentially get the nano boost from CJ. They've got it almost online. They need it desperately. Crowley almost being picked up here. And Rocket, very low, contesting onto the backside, forces the recall, but doesn't get the full value of health and needs to be super careful pressing into this.
CJ's
Overtime active. Now, with this, ooh, it's going to get super elusive underneath. Crowley gets eliminated out of the mech for the time being, but King takes down Tree. And now you finally have Wisp able to get the numbers, and there's Rhino taken down out of the mech. Wisp on this position have finally been able to take advantage of it, cleaning it up. That is a team kill. All 5 eliminated back at their spawn. And you will have Wisp managing to move on through this as Team Burrito fought a very, well,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, they're not
Yeah,
gonna do it. I was like,
it was close. It was close. I mean, they
it
almost
was
got
close.
there, but I mean,
GG's.
wow, what a fantastic performance from Wisp there. Going from having 4.5 minutes into third, barely finishing the map, and then coming back in. Team Burrito fought valiantly, but it was just not enough. Wisp, full props to them. And I really love what they did on their second round, where they played it so slow. They knew that, like, if they played it slow enough, Crawley, go take some damage. Like, kind of you would play, like, the old Winston style of that composition. Crawley, just go take damage. I'll eventually heal you. Wonderfully played from them, and they're going to be able to take a victory and take a step into the grand finals.
Absolutely, and it's exciting to see the type of competitive play that we've had so far for this Natter X community beta clash. It's been unreal for what we've seen, and we've only been able to cast part of it, and I've enjoyed every moment of it thus far with you, Kenobi. But again, there's still more to come here for those that are tuning in. We do have Door and Dryad going to come in to be able to finish off the rest of the broadcast. So, I mean, Kenobi, I'm just excited that I got to cast you again, my friend, before we pass it over.
Hey, I mean, I'm liking Overwatch too, man. It feels really good, and this was really fun to cast. Great teams that we had and great players. It was a phenomenal one, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the tournament shakes up to be.
So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be having those matches up in just a moment, and you're definitely going to want to stick around to see Door and Dryad bring you the action.
Hello, friends. My name is Jeff here from Map 5 Podcast, back with another interview. Having a chat with Muma. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, my name's Muma. I played in the Overwatch League for a minute, played some tank. Now I'm kind of just, chilling. I'm not really, I'm just streaming a lot, coaching on the side, just trying to, still enjoy the game, but not so much worry about the competitive side as much as I used to.
Well, with the beta coming out, been playing a bit of that. What do you think is your favorite part of the beta so far?
So my favorite part of the beta is just probably just playing like tanks that I haven't really got to play much recently. Like I know Monkey was definitely like playable in Overwatch 1, but he just required so much like, teamwork and synergy that didn't exist in ranked very often, and like a lot of people had to, pick specific heroes to kind of make him work. But in Overwatch 2, like with there only being one tank, I feel like you're a lot more free to, kind of play the tank that you feel like playing, because a lot of them, at least right now, a lot of them feel, pretty equal to each other, and, can work with like a lot of different things. So I'm kind of just enjoying, playing those tanks that I haven't got to play for a minute. And then also obviously not getting stunned and actually being able to play, like be in control of your character is pretty dope.
What would you like to see added in the next iteration of the beta?
I mean, hands down, just competitive. Even if it's not like MMR, or like even if there's not an actual rank, as long as it's just like the competitive rule sets, and maybe like hidden MMR mattering more, so you can actually like have some form of like consistent experience, and you don't just like queue up for tank for 10 minutes and then get a 5-minute attack escort game or something. Just being able to play a little bit longer and see how it kind of works in like the competitive rule set, and just have a more consistent experience, I think is going to be really, really important.
I hadn't heard the consistent experience side. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the reward factor is a big thing too, but there's just too much variance in quick play for my liking, really.
To anybody who is on the fence about the beta, what would you say to somebody who's skeptical about the beta for Overwatch 2?
I mean, a lot of the people that I've find themselves skeptical of the beta are people who just like haven't tried it very much, and just kind of look at it and like, what, this looks like Overwatch. Um, and I just kind of implore them to like actually give it a try, because it actually feels like a lot more like an FPS game. You're not shooting shields all the time, you're not getting stunned all the time, you're where you position, where you stand, what you're shooting, who you're shooting, is a lot more impactful than it used to be. Overwatch 1 was pretty forgiving, and a lot of it was just shields and stuns. And Overwatch 2, it's not really about what they've added, it's about what they've taken away, right? And they've taken away a lot of things that made the game very uninteractive, and that might be hard to see when you just see the graphics and just go, oh, it's Overwatch but with a little different graphics. You got to actually try it and see what it's like, right?
Let's shift focus here to the community, to the Path to Pro community for a second. If you can make one improvement to the Path to Pro system going into 2022 in the future of Overwatch, what would it be?
So I really just wish Blizzard would really give them more resources. I feel like to have a really like healthy, pro scene, you really do need to have a healthy tier 2 scene. Like I think that's legitimately the most important part of it. So just, whatever it takes to give them more resources, to get more people watching, to get more players, actually capable of playing. I think it's really important, because, if you don't have that influx of new players, I feel like the tier 1 scene is kind of just it's kind of destined to not go very well, in all honesty. You need to have new players coming in, and you need to have new players that can actually put in the time to eventually become tier 1. And I feel like with tier 2, in its current iteration, that's just not really possible. Like it's just so many players that are able to play are just like really I guess struggling. It's just very hard to invest that time unless you're like a kid.
All right. Well, that brings me to the end of my list of questions. Any final thoughts for the community before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I'm just really excited for this tournament. Just thank you to Natter, and thank you to everyone who helped organize and all that, because it's gonna be nice to actually play some competitive.
It should be an awesome weekend. With that, we're going to get back into the Natter Beta Clash. Thank you so much, Mover, for taking the time to talk with us, and we'll see you in game.
And welcome back, everybody. Appreciate your patience during that break while we finished up some of the other matches from the lower bracket. The last one, bit of a heater, brought to you by Rich Rod and Kenobi, who did a phenomenal job. Go ahead and give them all the love you can in chat. But now it's our turn. My name's Dor, and I'm joined by the oh-so-wonderful Dryad to bring you guys the final game of the night.
Should be a good one as well. Teams that we already know, or at least players that we already know, right? On one side, we're going to have those Redbirds that we've heard of for over a year now. They've been through a couple of changes as well in their roster, but it's the same Redbirds that is always strong in Overwatch. It doesn't matter if it's Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 2, they're always going to be at the top. This is why we get to see them today on the day of the tournament, trying to get to those grand finals. And on the other side, Boston's Finest that also has some pretty well-known players.
Yeah, this is pretty sick. I mean, you can go down the rosters. Recently winning the CECC Atlanta Invitational, Redbirds came in and yeah, I know. Wow, that's crazy. Both of us were in Atlanta casting them, and we got to win as first person. The dominance that this team brings. Gig taking away MVP, but I think there's an argument for pretty much every player on this team after watching that final day that they could be MVPs, especially RuPaul, who you and I both thought was not getting enough respect.
Yeah, absolutely. An absolutely insane player. He's proven himself multiple times. But now, I mean, we haven't gotten the chance to see any other tournaments, right? So it's a big question of what he's been able to do and what the rest of the team has been able to do in Overwatch 2. When we were in the tournament last weekend, they were telling us, a lot of teams were saying that what they're doing is just screaming Overwatch 2. They're practicing a lot of Overwatch 2, but this is the time where you actually get to prove how far you've gotten and how much practice you've gotten to see if you're qualified to get to the grand finals.
Yeah, look, hey, they wanted to Overwatch 1 tournament without any practice, and now they're going into Overwatch 2 with practice. This team sounds like they could do some damage, but they're up against a pretty solid roster coming out of Boston's Finest. Over there, the roster that is far too many players for me to pronounce all of them, but I will go over the roster that just played from them, which was Infected, Excal, Depresso, Neb, and IBTB, who all did a fantastic job. But what I really want to highlight is the collegiate matchup that we've got going on. Depresso and Neb coming off of Bay State, Excal playing UC Irvine. Both of those players, or all three of them, I suppose, a little bit of a grudge match up against Redbirds.
It's something that we've gotten the chance to talk about, right? It's so nice to see tier 3, tier 2 players going to like collegiate, where they get to have a lot of support. They also get to, you know, scream Overwatch 2, see how far they've gotten, like you said before. And for Boston's Finest, this is exactly the case, right? Teams and players that specifically come from collegiate that had a pretty good performance, maybe not all the way to the top like we got to see from Redbird, but it's still pretty good. And now changing a little bit the rest of your teammates and who you're going to be playing with is ideally what you're looking for to see what the potential that they've got, especially because you can tell they're trying things out, right? And you can tell just by the amount of people in that roster.
They brought pretty much the entire tool bag. The question is, like, how many are they actually going to use here? Last map, it was pretty much the Infected show. Everyone's playing around the Rhine. Depresso was playing a pretty solid May. We saw the Lucio Baptiste being brought out pretty much constantly outside of, I think, one map, Control, where it was Lucio Moira for both teams, but I suspect that we get something different out of Redbird Esports, so I wouldn't mind an Infected Gig grind 1v1. That does make for a nice little broadcast, but they could also probably bring that same flexibility with a slightly smaller roster.
And that is one of the questions that we have, right? We've seen quite a lot of variety when it comes to compositions that have been played in Overwatch League, and also a good amount of variety when it comes to this tournament specifically. I want to say I'm a fan of the Moira Lucio support line just because you have so many tools to get out of fights, and this is something that is a big topic of conversation recently, right? The support and how much they need. You know, you're not going to have the diva peeling for you all the time. You're not going to have as many resources invested in that backline, so you're going to depend on your own abilities to get out of fights, and a Moira and a Lucio are able to do just that.
That they are, and we're going to see those compositions break it down as we head into map number 1, which will be Elio starting things off. This is, of course, a best of 3, first of 2, whichever you want to say it. Our producer said Overwatch moment earlier, and I feel like nothing really defines it better. We all know how this goes. Win 2 maps, win this series. It's pretty damn straightforward. Elios, though, I think makes for a bit of fun, especially for two teams that probably want to run Reinhardt. Well, can cause some problems, but I don't think it's going to dissuade anybody from running exactly what they want.
Yeah, Elios is the right in between for those control maps where there can be a meta, but it's not as enforced as you can see, for example, in Lijiang Tower, right? So it's a nice middle for these two teams to see what they feel comfortable with. I feel like it's a massive topic of conversation for them, just figuring out, especially the tanks that are going to work out the best, going through changes and analyzing someone like Boston's Finest. That yes, they have a lot of players, but that doesn't mean that every single player is flexible in every single tank role, and that is something that I want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for me, I think tank diversity is kind of the big question that we ask ourselves whenever we watch these games. And I don't think, while Infected does have some other tanks in his back pocket, the ball that he was playing so prominently towards the end of Overwatch 1's reign of community tournaments has been significantly less meta in recent memory. And though, I mean, we see some minor bits of Sigma floating around, I don't think it's often that we're going to see them. Gig locking in a Monkey that'll start things out. Echo, I don't think is likely to stay on that May pick, but who knows? It's Overwatch 2.
You never know what's gonna happen, right? Last weekend, we got to see a Redbird that was forcing over and over again a rush composition in a 6v6. Then they decided that the double shield was the move, and now with only one tank and having Gig on the field, you're going to try to go for a good amount of variety depending on what they've been practicing here.
I noticed Neb laid some bait in the chat. I don't think Liar's gonna bite. Oh man, he didn't fall for the refrigerator running thing. Oh, this team's they're in it to win it. Redbird Esports have come to dominate. Out comes Gig on the Monkey over on the other side. Literally zero surprises. Xcal and Depresso locking in the Echo Reaper though. Depresso, who spent a lot of the time in Collegiate playing Sombra and the like, finally gets to put on the damage shoes as Echo puts in damage on the back line. Vision, though, already harassing this as the Winston comes in from the front. Redbirds have Boston's Finest completely surrounded right now. It's making for a bit of a miserable time. Infected will try and make one last push forward and does manage to trade himself out for Gig, so this fight's going to be hectic.
Yeah, the tanks go down right away, but the fight continues. No one has gotten control of the point just yet, but it seems like Redbird, they might have a little bit of a benefit here.
Yeah, because of the positioning, because they had the full surround, they're in a good position. That Moira, somehow not out of P at this point in time. I think they're slowly but surely running out of gas, and that stick will definitely take him out of the game. His vision comes up big on the point.
Still alive. He's still managing to stay alive. Really nice pulse from as well. Gets the Presso, and still the point doesn't belong to them. These are fights that happen to be really long. The Moira is back.
I love this dive, though, from Redbirds. They're not looking at this Reinhardt at all. They're not giving him the time of day. They're not giving him the attention that he wants. Unfortunately, even despite that, they still didn't manage to pick off any of the support line, and thus, it gives time for the DPS to come back. And with Excel and Depresso back in tow, now Boston's Finest are back, and they look pissed. Redbird is trying to re-engage with a Coalescence, but unfortunately, that's going to be turned into more of a disengage Coalescence than anything else.
It's two very similar, but also very different compositions that we get to see here, right? Because I'm a fan of Depresso on this Echo. You're going to have another angle to target that backlane with. But on the other side, Echo, once they get really close, doesn't really have the Reinhardt. So it seems like they're mixed together, but Rupel gets a way to start it off.
This is a bit of a problem. They're trying to win this fight early, understandably so, from Excal's point of view, because when Neb went down, they lost the sound barrier with it. So it's kind of win now or never, because you know Liar has theirs, but they didn't even manage to force that. That was fantastic for Redbirds.
It was pretty much catching Boston Finest off guard and taking advantage of that situation. Only one ultimate invested and also pushing forward, wanting to make Boston Finest uncomfortable. That Moira does get taken down at the end. Now has Gig with a promo rage available at any point. Oh, Liar goes down.
Oh, everyone's catching sticky things. Sticky bombs, pulse bombs, explosives are generally a running theme for this game thus far. Neb, though, gets the sound barrier forced out early. I see. Gig. I've seen you hit those before. How disappointing. Still does manage to get on point, and the second sound barrier comes out from Redbird's Esports. So far, a significantly more comfortable fight for them as the Echo runs away to lick their wounds at the Mega Health Pack. Redbird's now at the surround, but not a main tank. Gig is down. Boston's Finest can get in. Depresso is here to deal damage.
It's a little bit of a weird timing here because we saw Liar getting taken down, then the sound barrier not really getting as much value to continue having this team on point. So now it's Boston Finest the one to get away with the fight. They also have a Ryan, so this chokes are where the Reinhardt is going to shine the most.
Oh, but Gig's on Ryan. He's accepted the challenge. Gig Reinhardt, Infected Reinhardt. This is what we signed up for in this lower round 11. A duel of the fates, effectively. Both pocketed by Moira and Lucio. Both Moiras have Cole. This fight is going to get bloody, and it's going to get bloody quick. Infected decides to back up a little bit instead of being turned into Swiss cheese voluntarily, which is the right call, but then charges to the other side of point, which is a risky play for them, but it does gain enough space for Depresso to find the first pick. Yet again, this Echo is tearing through the lobby.
I was looking at who used the coalescence first, and RuPaul using it first. It might have caused his slide, but the fight's still not over. Does have the necessity for the side of Redbird Esports to back up just a little bit, having to wait for the more, having to wait for the extra support because the time is running out. It's already 70% for Boston's Finest, and they're about to have another Shatter and another sound barrier to work with.
They're big tools, especially when there's so few things to block them. It's only the Reinhardt in your way. No longer is there a second tank that's going to give you an opportunity at blocking it with a second shield. Gig steps up to this plate. About taking him on. Charge canceled by Depresso and Infected. Gig's been baited off to the corner of the map, not really doing too much for his team right now. And with that bot time, Boston's Finest are going to decide to move forward, finding that free Shatter onto the back line, which had become the front line because Gig had been pushed out of position. So far, a fantastically played fight out of Boston's Finest, but one Death Blossom could do a lot of damage against that. Aiko swapping over to the Reaper, duplicating in, is pumping out damage, but it's just not resulting in kills.
It's not getting the value that they're waiting for. 99% and still trying to come back. The Reinhardt, though, is still putting up a fight.
I mean, Infect is hanging on for dear life, but Redbirds and Aiko, thankfully, come up good in the second half of the fight.
And right at the end, right, the 99 that you don't want to get to, but it seems like it's the only possibility now. A single fight the Boston Finest wins might give them this first point, and Redbirds are going to put up a fight by pushing closer, by playing a little bit of this different angles. Now having Echo on the Echo is going to be great to enable him to do that.
You're looking at Vision and Excal right now. They've been trading out Death Blossoms left, right, and center today. Excal throws theirs out first. Doesn't find much purchase. Instead, it's Aiko taking down their counterpart. And Vision shows them how it's done with a 3-piece.
That's a good way to highlight your DPS. 5 kills, 3 for Vision, 2 for Echo. Stars and ends the fight.
Couple of nuts,
Makes
those
it
two.
different here. Yeah, they're so good. They play so well together. We've gotten the chance to see them before. And in Overwatch 2, this is not a difference for them.
Oh, the ultimates this time coming in. Pretty much just the sound barriers and one Shatter from Infected that can make the difference. We've seen Neb throw out a couple of early sound barriers, less than optimal ones in comparison to Lyres, but Lyre instead is going to have his forced out early this time. The boop off the map, though, sends them flying. Gig killed, but not by the boop, apparently, and Aiko's able to fly somehow. Not anybody dives to that, but still, down to main tank. Not a comfy place to be for Redbirds, especially with Aiko out of the question. Boston's Finest are going to look to tie this one up in a neat little bow at 99%.
It's unfortunate at the end for the side of Redbirds, but it seems like nothing else is going to be possible for them. Gig just coming back, being able to touch, but no support as well to keep him alive.
I'll be honest, this whole Gig Infected thing really delivering so far. It's been great. Infected's willingness to play hyper aggressive on this Reinhardt and use the new charge cancel is really what I think is giving him the slight edge, though. Gig is sometimes outlasting, and Aiko and Vision are having kind of a field day when their ultimates are online, but when the ultimates aren't on, it comes to the neutral game and these longer lasting fights. Infected feels like he's getting more value out of baiting and switching with that charge feint that's gotten Gig, I think, 2 or 3 times now and pushed him slightly out of position each time, which is just enough to edge out the fight.
And I think in a good way to see how the duel is working at the end, how the rivalry is working, is when we got to see the last fight, Gig trying to push forward pretty much alone to try to get that Shatter down, but it wasn't possible. It was like 80%, so close but so far, and now we don't get to see that Ryan v Ryan, at least for the beginning, because Gig wants to play in a Doomfist.
All right, respect to the man. There's a lot of ledges on this map and a lot of players to be punched. Fortunately, one of those is a Reaper. Did a lot of damage. There's not real much interaction with Depresso, but Aiko finds an opener. This should honestly just be enough to take it. Gig, though, risks going down. Big immortality field from RuPaul, who yet again, I mean, we watched RuPaul save Gig's life probably 90 plus times the other weekend. The amount of trust between those two. I mean, while we've got a pause, I'll just go into like my favorite play from that weekend. I've talked about it endlessly in front of you, Dryad, but I watched Gig just suicide into a Diva Bomb, throwing out a Shatter into the backline while it's going off, just full trusting that RuPaul was going to throw him in Immortality Field at the final second. And every single time he gets it, I don't know if it's bailing out or if it's just insane comms between these two, but they're just on the same wavelength.
It's something that you are only able to attain with a synergy like these two players have, right? It's not something that you do when you're just starting a team or you're just getting that synergy together. It's something that only them have been able to do, and it matches that playstyle that we often see from Gig, right? We highlight Gig a lot sometimes because when he's on the Reinhardt, when he's playing a Doomfist too, that he's able to just go in and play aggressive, you're gonna need the support from the rest of the team, and oftentimes that's going to be the Baptiste, trying to keep him alive with that mortality, and we also got to see it as well with the Moira investing that coalescence early on, and allowing the Reinhardt to play a little bit more aggressive, and there's so many different playstyles that we get to see for these tanks, but I think Gig's playstyle has always been, going in, playing aggressive, and trusting in your team, and this is something that requires a lot of time, but like I said, if there's a team that has been able to do that, it's got to be Redbirds.
You say aggressive playstyle, I say suicidal. It works! If your supports are good enough, it's aggressive playstyle. If your supports aren't good enough, it's suicidal. There's no good enough mix, but Redbirds will take away that first point thanks to Aiko's picks.
And it's going to be that control at the beginning that we get to see now for Redbirds. I wonder if Boston's Finest, yet they're going to go for any change. It's going to be X-Cole now on the Tracer. A Tracer that we haven't gotten a chance to see too much between these two teams, but it should be a good one. It's going to put the pressure as well all the way back, and is going to support Infected as he tries to dive in.
Infected on the Monkey is going to show us a bit of a difference. That Winston just has such longevity on these points. That 800 HP shield looks a lot juicier in Overwatch 2 than it did in Overwatch 1. Vision up on the high ground, though. Now finally being contested by a Tracer here. Excal, not a man you want to mess with too often, but so far Redbirds had a pretty good round on point. I'm surprised to see them not contest this in the final moments. They do have the characters. They really need to juggle that, but instead gave the point over to Boston's Finest, which they're perfectly happy with. They've got AoE damage, they've got the soldier. They can keep this fight going for a long time now that they've got the point.
It's too messy of a fight there, and you get to see the Echo and the Mercy still trying to work together. It's going to be risky, but having the support as well from Liar makes things a little bit more possible. Has to slow down a little bit of the momentum, though, as Boston's Finest, they want to play, they want to take out Liar, they're able to do just that.
Oh, and another relief pick. Dude, Aiko has been a bit of a monster. The Echoes in general. Depresso was really impressive in map number 1, but Aiko's just dominating here. Dupes over the Moira, gives her a little bit of her own medicine. Well, melee, little slap across the face on the way out, and another quick one fight for Redbirds.
It's a nice timing too, because we saw Liar and Echo managing to stay alive throughout the fight. They were all the way at the top, so no one could really get them, but they wait just enough so that the rest of Redbirds are able to come back and to get some value out of that duplicate, as we got to see the Moira just using it at the end, making sure that while Liar is coming back, the team is able to stay up. Point?
Again? Dude, they're just letting this one slip. I mean, you can see Gig trying here to get the contestant, but this Doomfist is just not doing it. Popping both support ultimates at the same time feels a little bad for Redbirds. Granted, that Baptiste ultimate isn't always used for longevity's sake, but this one is. The Coalescence comes in from Boston's Finest to give them a new lease on life. Unfortunately, that lease is up, and it's got a really bad interest rate.
It is going back and forth every single time, as Boston's Finest now twice in a row getting the point pretty much for free, and then Redbird just with the kill is able to recontest it. But this is not something that you want to happen over and over again, as Redbirds, they need to take those initiation tools, try to take those ultimates to make a difference early on, making sure that Boston, they can take that point control.
I mean, you'd think they'd learn after the first time, but I guess not. Quick push for Redbirds onto the point as well. This time, they look like they want to hold it, but they've got a visor in their backline, and Depresso's causing a bit of a problem. Down goes the Mercy. With it, her partner in crime, the Echo. Echo's out of the fight, and that's a pretty done and dusted one as you come in with the ultimate to leave with the point.
They're so close, 70 and 70, that we get to see on both sides, as Boston Finest, they take control of the point here. Just based on the primary rate, right? Infected was able to do so much in a point like this one, in Ilios too. It's just everything setting up this Winston for success, as we get to see once again now Redbird. They're not going to make any crazy changes, but I do see Vision going to the Reaper, and the time is running out. Can he build an ultimate towards the end?
I mean, even without an ultimate, just playing Reaper in general against the Winston, you can be a bit of a cyber bully. It's hard to live without the help of a diva like you normally expect in Overwatch 1. So the pressure is on, and it's all on the backs of Infected right now to stay alive. Vision getting pushed out early. Cal still holding onto that pulse bomb, throws it out, no connection. Now Depresso playing from the side lane is the main source of damage here for the team as the overtime wick begins to burn. 70% for Redbirds, 99 for Boston's Finest as we get a bit of a reprieve in the fight. A flip for Redbirds as Boston's will just accept their defeat, take an L, go back and get their last fight in.
Yeah, they know they have one more fight, and that is what enables them to go for that quick reset, go again, and make sure that they're able to come back with all those ultimates, right? We look at that sound barrier coming up, we look at the Primal Rage. That was a win condition in the last fight for Infected, having that Primal Rage, pushing everyone away, and it can be again for Redbird Esports as they try to get a point to 99.
Hey, look, I love to go to a third point here. It's a short series and best of 3, so let's just keep it going as long as we can. Vision into the back line. Echo looking for sticky bombs on a Neb, and that means no more speed for them, which means moving to point is now significantly harder for Boston's Finest, who formerly did it with ease. Vision getting knocked off point. Does get the TP in just in time. I think he might still be dead. Oh no, wow. Somehow sneaks by the Winston, who looks very angry still, but in the meantime, IBTB has taken him down in the backline. Boston's Finest just have the ultimate economy going their way, a sound barrier to bolster all of this, and they are looking fantastic against the likes of Redbirds, who might just be losing a little bit of that momentum from Atlanta as we head through to what is loser's bracket point for them.
And it was really back and forth, right? We got to see it, especially in this sub map. But at the end of the day, it's just Boston's Finest knowing their biggest win condition, as we got to see those ultimates, as we got to see that Primal Rage, the sound barrier, keeping them alive. And it seems like for Redbirds, that timing was always a little bit off. They even had to make those changes from the Winston to the Reinhardt in this first map that we got to see here in Ruins. And it seems like they were always just a little bit behind with those ultimates to catch up to what Boston's Finest was bringing. And because of that, that's going to be a 1-0 to start us off.
Yeah, and what I've seen in this match so far, it's been, especially with the second point, it looked like much more even use of ultimates. We finally got to see some really good usage of them out from Boston's Finest. But the first map, it looked like Redbirds had far better control of their ultimates. Neb's sound barriers weren't hitting, whereas Liars were. RuPaul was coming in, hitting great immortality fields and doing a great job in that regard. And then ultimates as well as the DPS ones. We talked about the duplicate that was constantly thrown out by Echo. Vision was finding great value when it came to the Death Blossoms, but unfortunately, those ultimates didn't really carry over to the second point. When it came to the neutral game, which is significantly more important when it comes to Overwatch 2 in comparison to Overwatch 1, because you don't have those ultimates necessarily all the time or as quickly in order to keep those fights going, in order to have that win button, I thought that there was a slight edge for Boston's Finest. They just looked a little bit more coordinated in terms of who's keeping who alive and when are we making our all-in push.
And I want to go back, speaking of ultimates, I want to go back to Ruins as we got to see that last fight because it was so important to me. It was exactly that. It was the desperation of Gig trying to build that shatter. It was 80%, but you're not going to be able to build it as fast as it used to be. So how do you adapt when you already lost the fight? The supports are coming back. You're not able to maintain the rest of your team. You're not able to be in that front line as much as you want to. And because of that, Gig is not able to win that fight, is not able to last a little bit longer. And that means that it was Boston Finest getting away with it. So it's a couple scenarios where we see that just a matter of timing to build those ultimates and to use them effectively that Boston's Finest seem to do better here in Ilios.
And look, it's a 2-0, but it's an esports 2-0, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
Everyone else, like it was close to say the least, which means that I think map pick listen becomes that much more important. Let's go ahead and take a look at our map set for how things break down. But for Redbirds who are coming in, they clearly have that diversity. Gig seems willing to play everything from the Reinhardt through to the Winston through to the Doomfist. But at the same time, I'd love to see them kind of just decide what do they think they're best at and stick to it. Because I think on paper, Redbirds do play the rush better than Boston's Finest, but Boston's Finest are getting the better of them through ultimates, through better timing, and through that neutral game that I did think Infected was getting a slight edge in, but albeit it's a minor one.
And I want to see how those differences in compositions are going to play out in a map like this one, right? We're going to Toronto. New map that, for a lot of people, it seems like the most confusing one, right? There's so many angles that you can take, and I feel like this is a good situation for the DPS as we got to see a Tracer and an Echo being played, which exactly do that. You're going to take the fight from different angles, you're going to catch that support line off guard, and ideally, they're going to create a little bit more space for the team as we go to see those early fights, especially here in Push, that are so long because of that. There's so many fights, there's so many small fights that are taking place in that same area.
Yeah, and it's kind of map dependent as well, right? We watched Coliseum earlier on the second stream over at BPL, and we got to watch like a 2-minute intro fight on Coliseum. But here, I think it is a little bit more open. I think there's much less interpretation for these like crazy long starting fights. It doesn't happen all the time in Push. But what can also happen in Push is kind of a smorgasbord thing. Sometimes you run the timer out. Sometimes you're at the end of the map in like 45 seconds flat. You really don't know. It's a whole can of worms that we get to open ourselves. But the big thing I want to see these teams do is understand and show us an understanding of the respawn timers. right? When can we push this cart? When do we need to be backing away from it? Even if you just won the fight, sometimes the enemy spawns are just closer and you've got to call it there. And understanding the ebb and flow of how the spawns move within push is, for me, the critical thing for teams moving over from Overwatch 1.
Yeah, that understanding that is really difficult just because of what we were used to seeing, right? Just knowing exactly how far the spawn is going to be. We always talk about the spawn advantage in other maps, but in a case like this one, it might not always be the case, and it depends more on I want to say that synergy, even if the composition is not always enabling that 5v5 fight to take place, right? So we see, like I said, a Tracer and an Echo, and you potentially can have something like a Moira and a Lucio. So everyone is playing kind of far apart, relatively close. You have to make sure that those targets, those pings are going to be on point to win that fight as early as possible and to win a little bit of impulse and to start moving that bot. Because if not, like you said, it can be 2 minutes and it hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, you brought up a pretty sick point, though. Something that we can talk about. We haven't seen Ana out of either of these teams. I know it's been played in the tournament, but these two teams in particular have kind of been avoiding it, sticking to either the Moira or the Baptiste alongside their given Lucio.
Yeah.
Because this has been one of the maps where it's been slightly more prevalent every once in a while, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem in their comfort zone, especially, like, I watch RuPaul. Like, RuPaul's got a solid Ana, but RuPaul's Baptiste lately has just been on fire. I see no reason not to run it. What do you think?
I want to say the Ana specifically, for example, that is something that I'm so hesitant about it, and it goes back to how many resources can you have be invested into Xana to keep her alive, and then we go into the conversation of, okay, what about not only Ana but Zenyatta, for example, who recently got a couple changes because of that. You want to keep those supports alive.
The boot.
Yeah. I still can't believe that's a thing, by the way.
It's so fun. It's like the best change.
Yeah, I feel like you're still gonna have to bring some changes like that eventually into Overwatch 2 to make sure that teams and the support line all the way in the back are able to stay alive. If not, then you know that their resources are going to be invested early on, and that also might be a factor, right? You're going to be building the nano as soon as possible for your Winston as we get to see these two compositions come along.
Yeah, and those are the big things you're watching for, right? The ultimate charge between the Anas as well as the Winston's ability to stay alive with the DPS threats constantly being on the back line. But all things going to plan, they should get those nanos on the line to try and win the fight. I will give you just a quick heads up, Dryad. I know new map and all. I know you're from Florida. I know you live down in Miami. The white stuff on the ground, that's called snow.
No way. No way.
Well, let's see how cold it gets. Into the back line they go. Quick little dive onto Liar and Co. RuPaul and Gig actually playing really conservative and really far back here, willing to let the pressure on that cart go early, and it's rewarded beautifully. Echo and Vision find a nice engage after they force Infected back.
And I want to see how this engagement is going to work out, having a Sombra online, knowing the changes that she's gotten since Overwatch 1, and knowing that she can be way more powerful, right, with those hacks and the value that you can get. And it goes back to what I mentioned before, right? You want to work together to make sure that those hacks are getting value every single time, and that information that the Sombra and the DPS line is able to get is getting at least 1-2 picks ideally every single time.
Hey, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your eyes on Excal as we move into this fight, especially with the Reinhardt now being in tow. The composition has changed a lot. Infected's gone back to his bread and butter, which checks out, but this is so hard to play. Look at how far back that Ana is. Not even a Tracer, not even a Soldier. You're just not getting back there. She's free. And Liar's just making sure that she's extra so. Winston gets a dive in. Still, all of this in LOS of the Ana, mind you. There is nothing to push her out of position, so the fight positionally is just significantly better for Redbirds.
The peeling here is something that has to happen constantly for the supports, as we got to mention, and the kills are enabling this to happen, right? The supports are able to stay alive. RuPaul now has a nano because of that, and now Gig can use a nano, then throw a promo rage, and that's another fight that can be won for Redbird Esports, who look way better in this map.
They're kind of getting the tiered fights as well. They're rolling the ultimates perfectly positionally. They're moving from point to point to point, repositioning that Ana each time. This time they position her to throw that nano onto the Winston. In comes Vision from the back line, and boy, oh boy, are your options awful number 1 and awful number 2. You're stuck between Gig and Vision, and honestly, I don't like either of those. Forgot, does trade out too. Oh my god, the snipe. Vision's, he's got Hawkeyes. You just see them from so far away. The Rockets, he never stood a chance. Now pushing the cart back, trying to keep the pressure on. Remember, the spawns are just a tad bit closer here for Boston's finest as they can make their way around and slowly contest this one more time.
That checkpoint does belong to Redbird Esports in the meantime, though. There was a couple trades mainly happening because of Forgotten, but after that, it was Redbird Esports initiating pretty well, slowing down that Baptiste, forcing that mortality, and then being able to get away with his kills. Really nice anti-nade, too.
Nice anti-nade, but man, I'm watching Infected play the game right now, and he's not playing the game. He's hitting a Winston every once in a while, and then just like swinging at the air wildly. Reinhardt's not having a good time right now, is my point. It's not necessarily Infected's fault, but Redbird and their composition are running circles around him.
It just looks way better the way that it's played together, and I feel like we already broke it down in a couple parts, and the way that everyone is playing together at the same time. Big Gig is initiating these fights, going back and making sure that he's still up for the next fight.
Oh, but Vision's down, and this is the opportunity for Boston's Finest to restabilize. We see this basically every time we see push, right? First team gets a solid push, gets the ultimates, and gets to continue pushing even further. Boston Finest are doing the same thing. They've got a Shatter in tow. They've got 3 ultimates behind that. If they could save a few of these after winning the fight pretty handily off of a Vision pick, they can roll it into something else.
And I like this idea, at least for Redbirds. It didn't work out in the best way possible, but it's something that I saw from San Francisco Shock, where it's like they're willing to back up when it's necessary to win those fights, especially knowing that Boston they have and still have so many ultimates to work with.
A lot of intel for either team. If RuPaul builds up this Nano, though, it could be big for them. Same sight lines we saw earlier are working for Redbird Esports and keeping that Ana alive and not under pressure. Gives her the time to build up this Nano boost, which now they can really start to put to use. Immediately tosses it in, I believe, onto the Monkey, which gives them all the space they need to take down the back line. Forgotten on an off angle. Could do some damage here. Hold up. Not quite ready to call this fight over yet. Liar taking down their counterpart in Nebs. It's 2 versus however many are spawning at this point. It's a complete mess on the point, but Forgotten just owns all of it, dominating the server.
The attack Visor, every single time that we gotten the chance to see it, is getting at least 2 kills. That is more than enough. That is a little bit more of that Boston Finest was waiting for to start moving that bot. But I mean, they still have a long way to go, and Redbird Esports are coming back.
That guy's aimbotting. That's cheating.
What? No way.
I think it's funny that in Overwatch 1, where I think, you know, movement was a little underappreciated, how in Overwatch 2, the aimbot's actually warranted, whereas at like higher levels in Overwatch 1, you could kind of just ignore it because all the pro players had like aim at that level anyways.
Yeah.
But here, man, it just results in kills.
It was worse. Yeah, it was worse to use it, but now it's actually a valuable tool, and we got to see it in the hands of Forgotten, right? Getting so much value out of his stack Visor every single time, even when everything else
this charge big.
fails.
Infected immediately blocks off the opposing tank. Gig's bubble, though, will keep him alive for the time being. Rediving into the backline. Look at this. Infected has to respect this, right? Has to pull back and make sure his team is kept alive. Oh, look out! Oh, dear God, he's got a family. You can't just turn him into a pancake like that. He's got friends watching.
It seems like he didn't realize what was happening. There was a Redbird charging right in front of him, taking him down, but now
he's got his AirPods in.
You go back, yeah. The bot's still moving on the other side, though, but like I said, there's still a long way to go. Still a lot of time as well, so something can work out for the side of Boston Finest. Redbird Esports are going to come back with a Nano, once again giving it to Gig, and you already know how that plays out.
You've seen this song and dance a few times before, partner. But it's time to break it down. It's high noon, and we don't have a Cassidy anymore. It's a little sad, I'll be honest, but I can also do without old flashbang. So works for me. Forgotten again on the back line. Nice off angle. Looking for the supports yet again, but I think we'll be content with looking for the Winston anything, dude. This guy's just all around the map, uncontent. They're just leaving him. Forgotten, I don't think he's been touched in the past like 9 years. Oh, Soldier 1v1. Soldier 1v1. Oh, Forgotten's getting healed. That's cheating. Doesn't count. Not 1v1. But Infected and Boston's Finest are going to win it anyways. I'm a little sad. I'll be honest, Red. It's rough.
Interesting 1v1 though that takes place there. And Forgotten, it seems like every single time on the Soldier, he just found what here is working out for him.
He's kind of rolling on it, to be honest. And now he's coming in with another one of those visors. You hyped it up earlier. Let's see how many. The bar is 2 right now, which feels like an incredibly high bar, but it's the one that he set for himself. In go Boston's Finest. Immediately, Visor into the back line. Redbird Esports, and the help of that Winston bubble, are actually finding them a lot of value. Shatter onto 2 or 3, though. Equalizes the fight. Now Forgotten's off angle. Looks really scary as he tears apart the health bars and the hopes of Redbird Esports.
And now looking a little bit more even. Really good engagement to start it off for the side of Boston's Finest. And they started off not in the best way possible, but they're finding this bot to move as far as possible. Redbird, now they look a little bit less coordinated compared to what we saw. Gig is trying to fix that, though, and he's going in.
I mean, they've got a lot of ultimates to fix it, but fortunately, Gig can't press his Q button right now. Not that he has it. Pulse bomb onto the back line. Neb does catch a slight overextension from Infected. In fact, wants to capitalize on even more Excal. I'm not sure if they hit anything with that EMP, but it doesn't seem to matter as Eiko's gone down alongside Gig.
The EMP did get Gig at the end, but he was already so low he couldn't even disengage properly, so it was just a matter of time as well for it to happen. And at the end of the day, Boston Finest, they're making it as far as possible with Redbird Esports on the other side.
On
Yeah,
time.
the support line.
They've got to get a contest here to force overtime. Get past the marker that Redbirds have set. From here on out, no stepping off that card. Infected, it is your job and your job alone. Keeping a moving while he can. Without help from his team, it's going to be difficult. Redbirds have tried to take some nice off angles here, but Boston's Finest have kind of subverted it just by running right past Redbirds. They're going to have to reposition, but Vision now on the real off angle. This is the dangerous one. Starting to surround him. Redbirds are coming for their throats. Gig with the Primal Rage until RuPaul nearly up to that nano boost that could seal the entire fight out. No one contesting Vision. The soldier out of the fight, there's just no chance. Eiko tearing apart limb from limb. Infected on cart. Again, swinging around, but there's just nothing to hit when you have to stand in one place. Finally, the team closes the trap. The jaws of Redbirds close on Boston's Finest and send us into a map number 3.
It's exactly what we wanted to see for these two teams, and I feel like it went down to that sound barrier from Nep. It was used way too early for the last fight. Redbird Esports, they weren't even fully ready to engage, so they just waited for the sound barrier to fade out, then take advantage of the different angles that they were taking anyways, and they were positioning to take anyways to win the last fight that they needed. It was one that was a now or never for them, and they made it valuable.
And it makes you kind of enjoy the map pick that we saw thrown out by Redbirds that much more. You talk about the sound barriers that were used, but also the tank line and the team just looked more comfortable. And I think taking an Infected off of the comfort picks, or at least take him off of it for a little bit, and then he swaps to Ryan anyways, but it just doesn't really hit the same when there's so many angles to cover, when there's so much high ground, and you can poke that from here, poke that from there, and your stupid stubby little Reinhardt arms can only get so far. Look, as a Reinhardt player, we've all been there. It sucks, but it's just not a comfy place. You got to find a swap in at some point, or just a miracle push with some of those ultimates. And they nearly got it, but unfortunately, close only counts, and horseshoes, hand grenades, and everything but Overwatch 2.
And something that I still want to highlight that we got to see a lot of was that backline, that support line for the side of Redbirds that I feel like made such a massive difference, right? We didn't see them getting taken down early in too many occasions, and that was also a factor of what you said, right? When you have a Reinhardt who's not going to dive into the supports of the enemy team, then the supports are able to just stay alive. They were playing into the high ground. They were playing together. A lot of times that support and that Lucy and the Anna always together to make sure that at least some value will be getting out of from those fights that we got to see for Redbirds. And it got intense. They lost that momentum that we saw from them early, but they get it at the end and they get that fight that mattered the most.
Yeah, and like credit to Forgotten, who's doing his best to kind of equalize that. But with Liars, Peel, RuPaul just looked unbeatable. Some of those positions as well. Clearly, Redbirds have done their homework in understanding how this map works.
Nice.
It felt like, especially the first fight, obviously things get a little messier the longer you go into a push map. But the first fight, into second fight, into third fight, it felt like it was Cart, Ana on that far high ground, and then Ana in the back room. Instantly win 3 fights. There was no chance. They rolled with ultimates. They knew exactly what they were doing and carried it into the push that ended up winning them the game.
And that is something that, you know, we always talk about win conditions for teams. We always talk about ultimates, what ultimates are going to be available. But as of right now, and the current state of supports in Overwatch 2, the biggest win condition is try to keep your support line alive. You do that, like Redbirds was able to do, and you have everything that is going to be needed as we got to see from them. You keep them alive. They were able to touch the ball just for a little bit to slow it down, and disengage, go into the high ground, and make sure that everyone was coming back and the heals were coming in.
I thought it was a really sick comparison that I saw. You talk about keeping sports alive. John, who's been putting out a ton of coaching content, been VOD reviewing like every day on his Twitch channel. Go shoot him a follow. Wonderful guy. Put it, I think, maybe the best way that I've heard. In Overwatch 2, your objective, while it is to keep the supports alive, it's mainly to make it expensive to kill the supports, right? You want the enemy team to sacrifice something, whether it's positioning, whether it's abilities, whether it's ultimates. You want them to give something up should they kill your supports, because killing supports is something that you can almost always do in Overwatch 2. It's just how much does it cost you. So by putting them in those great positions that we saw earlier, not only are they keeping them alive like you mentioned, but had they not kept them alive, had Boston's Finest actually wanted to dive them, it would have been extremely expensive.
And it's still something really difficult to do, right? Like you said, you can always kill the supports, but the investment that is going to be necessary for the composition that we saw from Boston's Finest. It's going to be so
Especially with the
difficult.
Reinhardt, yeah.
How is the Reinhardt going to go in to where the supports are going to be located? You also have a Lucio on the other side with the Ana. They're playing off of each other. They're playing together. How is the Reinhardt going to get there? I mean, it's going to be extremely predictable if we see that Reinhardt just charging in to get it. I mean, we saw it one time, right?
Yeah, we saw him run into the backline one time, and then his backline was also promptly swept pretty
Exactly.
quickly. So, hey, look, it might have just been a map thing, though, as well, because Infected's Ryan clearly was doing fantastic on the first map, and while the Ryan certainly does seem to be the comfort zone for this game in particular for Infected, they've got a map pick. It doesn't really matter, so let's go ahead and look at our map set to see either the map or the type that they will be playing as we head into the third. It's going to be Dorado, the pick out of Boston's Finest. You know, as far as escort maps go, I don't think this is too out there as far as compositions that you like to see Reinhardt, or maps that you like to see Reinhardt on. Escort really just, it's not that most of the time. Even like Route 66, stuff like that, Circuit Royale, none of it's really Reinhardt friendly, if we're being honest with ourselves. I think Route 66 is running like D.Va double sniper comps, D.Va double poke comps, sometimes Winston compositions, which can be played virtually anywhere. And I suspect that's what we're going to be getting here on Dorado.
It's a, like you said, there's not one map that you can think of where you're going to, as of right now, you can absolutely hate seeing that Reinhardt, but it feels like there's so many other things that just seem to be better, and that one is going to be the Winston that we've seen, even in that matchup, even when we got to see that first control map. We're seeing that Winston looked a lot better, so hopefully that is something that we're able to see coming in for this side of Redbirds. I feel like it's pretty much a possibility. It's pretty much a given too. But on the other side for Boston's Finest, we've seen a lot of Reinhardt, and at what point, and is this the map where you're willing to change things up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be, like I said, the map order is kind of just unfortunate for Boston's Finest, in that escort being that third and final map. Even if you get a map pick here, even if you get to choose, your options are kind of slim, but we'll see what they can do with it. Like you said, there's a decent chance that we see the Winston come back out. Reinhardt is playable here to some degree, so to see them force it, I think it's better than Toronto. Let's put it that way. Toronto was a mess.
Yeah, you also have more angles that you can hide from and just wait around, but I mean, I like what I see so far. I wonder if there's going to be any changes, but for the defense, it looks pretty solid. Pretty much what we got to see in Toronto, the Winston coming in, the supports that we got to talk a lot of, and Echo, which is a key win condition for me, has been getting so many, and this is not only today, right? When we got to see him last weekend, he's been always getting that opening pick for the team in so many scenarios, and it's pushing the team forward, enabling to play more aggressive, which is something that Gig is always trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Echo's just been a problematic player for the past week. Ever since that one game, he's just been on a streak. Depresso, on the other hand, is going to come out Widow. I think this will just be a pot shot and swap real quick. Yeah. Back over to the Echo is my best guess. Depresso's Echo was really good. Staying on it for a bit of time. Trying to test out the waters back into spawn. There it is. Echo swap. As predicted, Lucio Mora for Boston's Finest on the attacking side, though, because they don't have the safety of this high ground, that makes perfect sense to not run the Ana, but it still is certainly going to be difficult as you no longer have kind of the ability to just sit back, wait for a nano, and then go in. Now you've got to find an engagement off the neutral.
And I wonder how this is going to play out. The Moira on the side of Boston's Finest is going to be great to disengage when it's going to be necessary for this team, but it also means that the engagement has to be effective, has to be fast for them, and it's something that they're trying to do right now.
I like this routing from Boston's Finest. Unfortunately, Depresso just gets beamed down. Nicely done by Vision to take that off angle and kind of explore the high ground a little bit more before the push properly came in from Boston's Finest.
And the two Winstons waiting for the right opportunity here, but I like Redbirds and how they're willing to give up this high ground just to commit to everyone playing together back.
Yeah, I mean, regrouping makes sense, especially when your soldiers got to respawn. It puts the Ana as well, you can see in the far back right of your screen, just barely through there. But just as difficult as it is for us to see RuPaul right now, it's even harder for Boston's Finest to see RuPaul, who I don't think is even on their screen right now. They can't even consider killing this Ana, who's now up to 98% to that nano boost, the big winner that they're going to throw into Gig here in a couple of seconds. It's almost inevitable. RuPaul's just been charging it up. And comes RuPaul under pressure, stuck, doesn't get the nano off. It's disaster. Boston's Finest have flipped the script, turned the tables, and now are ready to jump on the likes of Redbird Esports, who are no longer armed with the critical ultimate.
Just a stick that works way too well. The
That's
Anna.
huge.
I mean, she was hiding for so long, right? But in the minute that mattered the most, she was right in the open, the postman connecting when it's needed to, and now Coalescence to follow up.
Coalescence had a... Excuse me. IBTB to get them in. Answer is the nano boost from RuPaul, but RuPaul's already down. Once this nano boost is over from Gig, I mean, you can pop a primal here, but you've got to find value early, and they have. Excal and Neb are out of the fight. This is effectively a 5v3 for them. Not unwinnable for Boston's Finest, who do have a pretty decently close spawn, but with the third player going down, I think you can write this one off in the books. You do it.
One
You
kill,
do it, Vision.
yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't get killed by the Moira. Don't get killed by the Moira.
Is managing to go back as attack visor as well. We already saw what happens with attack visors, but can Vision do the same? That's the question. So far, not getting too much, just a little bit of damage, and Echo managing to close it off.
Yeah, you live in Florida. Fun fact, Florida actually has a native cockroach species called the Woodlands cockroach. You can look this up. They're everywhere in the woods. But I don't know, Dryad, if you've ever... You live in Florida. I guess you got more gators in the south than cockroaches. In the north, we got cockroaches. It's way less fun. But you turn on the lights, and they all just go. They all leave. And the same thing happens when a soldier presses visor in Overwatch 2. And as we get into this fight, Nep doesn't get a shot, but no! Oh my goodness, early picks again are just thwarting both of these teams' plans. Whether it's RuPaul's Nano or Neb's Sound Barrier, nobody's pressing their Q buttons in time.
It's just a little bit of that off timing that turns out to be a nightmare. You get to see a couple of trades as well, managing to keep both of the teams alive, right? But the side of Boston's Finest, they're desperate to find an answer. He and Gig is not going to allow it just yet.
Oh, with 30 seconds left, things are getting close. Depresso down, but that's a lot of the damage. Remember, Excal is the only other person here to put out the damage, but Excal is here to finish off Depresso's damage, who is now back in spawn. Vision, on their other hand, can stand on their own, can dish out damage from the side lane without Echo need to be alive. Speaking of which, Echo's back, and they've got to duplicate. Immediately, Sticky Bombs down. Infect, and this fight just got a lot worse for Boston Finest, who have to commit despite only having 13 seconds. They'll duplicate to get kind of a pseudo tank, but it's only at 300 HP now, and that's not going to do enough. Vision just ignores the damage coming out from the fake monkey and deals with the high ground, taking the nano boost to the back line of Boston's Finest.
Turbo does get taken down at the end, but now it enables the Nano to go in.
This is
the Visor
over.
as well, but it's over. There's no more opportunities here. First round, and a really good defense that we get to see for Redbirds. It started when I got to see them backing up from the high ground a little bit earlier than we're used to seeing teams, but it just managed to work fine. Even if they got taken down early, like we got to see the Anna, like we got to see Lucy on some occasions, it was every single time Redbirds the ones who were better at adapting it, coming back, and knowing how that positioning had to be perfect in order to make that full hold happen.
And you know what? I mean, this is screaming echoes of the collegiate tournament that Redbirds were not but last weekend, where they full held Dorado and then steamrolled it to take the whole thing in the final map. It's final map. They full held. There's only one more piece of the equation for Redbirds.
I really like what I see for this team, right? It seems like the one team that is always willing to adapt is going to be this Redbird Esports. And it was even before we saw the roster that we see today, right? It was the previous American Tornado, then going to Redbirds and changing because everyone got picked up by Overwatch League. And now is the Redbirds that we get to see today with quite a lot of Tier 2 experience, even some Overwatch League experience that is everything that you would need and you would dream of in a team. Once they get some momentum going, once they figure out what composition is going to work, they're not going to let it go. And this is something that I'm having a feeling we're going to see again.
It's 7 seconds left. Boston's Finest swapped Infected over to the ball. Kind of the secondary hero to his Reinhardt within Overwatch 1. Hasn't really seen much play in Overwatch 2, understandably so. It's just not the same character. Vision swapping over to a pick that I think is highly underrated, not just to Overwatch 1, but like for Vision in general. Brings out a Hanzo, eventually swaps it over to the Soldier, which, I mean, given the game, makes more sense, but I will say, Vision's Hanzo gives me nightmares, and should give you nightmares too. Echo's Echo, given the backline nightmares though. Huge sticky bombs, just decimates the health bars. I mean, as quick as you can say they're dead, they're dead.
It's a really good anti-nade as well that enable that play to happen and to force that the full dive to take place. So it's just Redbird Esports now. They play forward, now they go back, they start to move that payload, and it's the last opportunity here potentially for Boston's Finest. I want to see what they're able to do because that composition is very difficult to maintain alive, especially that Zenyatta. I mean, what can you do here?
Pressure is hard. I don't know, man. You get one more fight. This isn't looking pretty. Redbirds are coming for that finish line. Excal looking for the back line, though. Does find a nice dive to Presto with a shot 2 onto RuPaul. The entire team cascades down upon the poor support line of Redbirds. And we talked about making it expensive, but thus far it's free, ladies and gentlemen. There's a sale at the Redbirds store, and everything's going.
Seem to be going according to plan here, but now Boston Finest is just finding a pick onto RuPaul. Everyone has to wait. Gek wanting to play aggressive, wanting to get the press on the Widow, but it's not going to be the possibility. There's still a lot of time to work with us. You're not worried. Trying to build a Nano, trying to build up the Primal Rage again and see if that is going to be enough for Redbirds, especially once they're able to take down the Presso.
Yeah, it's a good plan until Excal, pulse bombs Urana one more time.
There it is. Nope.
I set him up for it and everything. Unfortunate. The Presso now forced back by the Winston. Gig making his life a living hell as a Widowmaker, but the positioning's nice for Redbirds. I love where they put RuPaul here in the back room. It's really hard to tackle this with the ball. Infected can poke all he want, but you're never going to actually get on top of it. Throwing out the Natter, who's finally RuPaul decides it's time to win. Echo taking out of Presso, the rest of the team trying to stall out on Cart, but the mines just don't matter. Everyone leaves. Infected's just like, what do I hit? He's turning around in circles like, I guess there's supports over here. I guess there's DPS over here, but you forgot about the Cart. Another one for Redbirds as they continue their lower bracket streak.
I think at this point we're just the designated casters for Redbirds to win. It just happens every time we get to see them. It's insane. It's a team that starts a little bit slower, then they find out the answers exactly on how to win and how to counter the enemy. And like he said, they just look unstoppable once they figure that out. It's a beautiful execution that we saw towards the last fight that worked just layer by layer, piece by piece to make it happen and to give them the victory that they were waiting for.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, it did feel like the Reinhardt match was fantastic for Boston's Finest, but when it came to the Winston, it just wasn't quite there. And I brought it up earlier. The third map pick, it stings a little bit for them because there's just not many good options in Overwatch 2 for them to play that map with the hero pool that they have, but they gave it the old college try. Unfortunately, the college team came and gave it to them on the other end. That Winston just looked indomitable when they were piloting it, and Infected when it came to not the Reinhardt, and even the Reinhardt were on a map where it was kind of less successful. You could see on the ball, on the Reinhardt, it was, what do I hit? There's nothing within range. There's nothing that's going to die. You just need that Winston sometimes, or the Doomfist, whichever works out for you, but in that case, it was Gig taking over the lobby alongside Echo, who was just on first pick fire.
And it looks so clean. I feel like the mistakes that we saw, especially coming in for the side of Redbirds, it was more having to do, especially what we got to see in Push when they were losing a couple of those fights. It was just the way they were engaging together that wasn't as clean. But all the maps that we got to see and all the other fights, it looked a lot better with that Winston in the hands of Gig and everyone else playing around it. Even when RuPaul got taken down a couple times early, it was the enemy team targeting him, taking him down, but it didn't really matter. It was the value that Redbirds knew they needed and the way that they capitalized from it.
Yeah, but I mean, you brought up RuPaul. We highlighted him like all last weekend at LAN because the guy's just been playing out of his mind for the past week or so. He's on a streak. He's on a hot streak. What can we say? Going to Overwatch 2. Can't really be anything better than that. Might be able to take him to a victory, but for me, I mean, the difference maker was just support positioning. ISU came into it with a very clear game plan. Set support positions every single time, because in no game has it been more important than Overwatch 2, because there's nobody else to keep your supports alive other than your supports 90% of the time. And so huge shout out to those two, Lyra and RuPaul, who really just locked the game out and made it incredibly hard to win, and was a large part of the reason why Infected looked like he was having such a bad time.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like the side of Redbirds, they had the better read on how to play in specific maps and the way that this backline had to play together every single time. We highlighted it throughout because it's so nice, and because it's so early in the beta, so early in Overwatch 2, a lot of teams have difficulty being able to do that, right? Being able to know exactly how that positioning for the support, for the Ana, for the Lucio should look like. But the ones that have the better understood idea, it's just Redbirds.
They look good, but they might be able to get themselves a ticket up to that finals where WISP just dominated their prior opponent, but they've got one more in their midst. That's going to be going on tomorrow. Make sure you guys are following Natter on Twitter, Bad Patch and Mario League. Of course, shout out to everybody who's been absolutely wonderful. We got to give a huge thanks to our sponsors who allow us to put this thing on. Rank Up, Team Unlimited, Serenity, Dramatic Gaming, Beyond Ranked, Hour Zero, Jangwa, Questline Esports, Vite Ramen, Champria, Esports Tower. Goodness gracious, Tier 2 Overwatch is alive and thriving, and it's all thanks to these wonderful people. We do have to give, of course, a huge shout out to Vite Ramen for helping do this, and Bad Patch and Mar League for helping power the broadcast. They've been wonderful. They put up with all of Dry and I cyberbullying them before broadcast, and I'm sure they get to put up with.
That was you.
I am a plague to producers. You guys have no idea. Not a diva. I just make their life miserable. And you know what? They're going to be thankful because I'll be gone tomorrow. But of course, we're going to have some wonderful casting and some wonderful games all lined up for you. Like I said, follow the Twitch channel. Follow Bad Patch and Mario League. Stay updated with everything. You guys have a good night.
Hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the tournament. I just want to take 1 second to talk about something that sort of resonates with me. Growing up, my family wasn't super, supportive of video gaming and esports and whatnot, as most families are not. My parents really wanted me just to study really hard, or play real sports like soccer and whatnot. So I didn't really have, a way to, play with other friends or, meet people online. So I've actually partnered with Esports Tower. Esports Tower is a club-level program for students that are, 13 to 18 years. It's a year-round program where essentially students get 3.5 hours of coaching a week, and you get opportunities to play in tournaments and meet other influencers in a particular game. So I'll be offering a 2-week free trial to that program, and if you want to keep going, I believe it's $5, so it's pretty affordable. But I highly suggest checking it out. I honestly wish going back, if I had these options, just do a club and sort of meet people or like-minded, I think I really would have enjoyed that. As well as they also, help, high schoolers meet colleges and, maybe look at collegiate scholarships, which I think is really huge. So yeah, definitely check them out, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the tournament.